Under Xbox's new restructuring, a Slice of Gaming podcast is now also under the watchful eye of Matt Booty. This is a Slice of Gaming podcast for October 27th, 2023. And we'd like to thank you for giving a slice of your time to tune in to a Slice of Gaming podcast. We got a relatively light news week this week, but we do have a topic that we're going to discuss after we blow through all of our news topics. But be sure to check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Audible. Rip to Google Podcasts. Be sure to also follow us on Twitter at A Slice of Gaming. And we also do have an upcoming episode of Slice of Anime coming up this Thursday. So let's get in started with the introductions. Much like Ikaro, he also won't die. It's Bench.
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
What lurks in the depths of the ocean, it's Wolf.
I will never submit to Matt Booty.
Too late, he's our boss now. He's the successor to the RE engine, it's Dark.
How's it going?
And it's your finals reigning champ, it's BenjiBot.
Yeah, sorry guys, Connie Booth was supposed to make it tonight, but just like PlayStation, Moon won't tell me why she didn't show up, so I'm just here in her place.
Moon's a busy guy. Leave him alone, all right? He's just
Literally
like
ran home to
PlayStation.
record this podcast.
Yeah, we're just supposed to trust the process.
Exactly. All right, so I think we're just going to move on over to Wolf for our rapid fire news section.
Yeah, we are looking like a pretty light news week, all things considered. But we have a fun topic that we really want to go over that we're all very excited to talk about. But we got to talk about news, which means Xbox has news, which is an L for me. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, first,
Xbox always has the news.
yeah, really. I feel like every week there's Xbox news, and then like it's like a 50-50 if there's PlayStation or Nintendo. That's what I've kind of noticed running the podcast. But the first big story is the Xbox partner preview. This was announced earlier this week, around like Sunday or so, Monday, somewhere around that era. And I got like a good preview of like all the like third-party reveals of what Xbox is gonna bring to the table coming this upcoming year and whatnot. Just ask right off the bat. I didn't watch this live, but I did go back and watch all the trailers and whatnot. Did any of y'all watch the showcase live?
I did, and I was actually overall. I thought it was. I was literally wasn't gonna watch it, and it was just on. I heard about it, and I expected like nothing to come from it, but I was actually pretty surprised with everything they showed. And overall, for what they were going for, I thought they had a pretty good showing.
Yeah, I watched it live too, and it was a nice little sample platter. Like it wasn't anything the size of like a full blown Nintendo Direct that we kind of get. This is just like, oh, here's just a little something to tide you over because we got the holidays coming up, and it was nice to just get some updates on some stuff.
Yeah, I also saw it live, surprisingly, because usually I've been skipping a lot of these recently, but I was like, I mean, I was honestly curious if Xbox was going to be able to fix their format for these shows, because I feel like the common theme the last couple of years, if it's not their like E3 or around E3 time showcase, their presentations are usually kind of all over the place and don't seem to have a good consensus from the people that watch them, like a positive one. So I was surprised that I think they finally figured out a formula here that could work for them.
Yeah, I looked back at all the trailers, and I think this is an interesting thing. Do you guys remember how long this actually ran? Like, was it like 20, 25 minutes?
Yeah, it was like 25 and 30 minutes.
Yeah, I want to say 25 or 30.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but looking at everything, like it was a pretty like quick, rapid show with some good reveals and whatnot. I definitely could hope that they continue this format, at least like in terms of the pacing and whatnot, if it really was like 20, 25 minutes. I guess I could just do a quick look through all the announcements. I actually got this from the Xbox news blog and whatnot. Mike Nelson did a quick write-up of everything over at Xbox. The first, not the first thing, he got to put it in order, which I really fucking hate. Like this happens with like IGN and Polygon articles. Like here's a recap of everything that was shown off, and they do it out of order and they miss shit. And it's like, guys, I need an actual recap of everything from start to finish. This is first world problems, okay, guys. But the first thing that they decided to talk about on this thing, even though it wasn't the very first announcement, was the in-engine look of Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. One of my favorite games of all time, getting a big old remake. It's very much a not a remake in the style of like a Resident Evil 2, but more so a, I don't know how you would call it, like remaster
One-to-one
remake.
remake.
It's tough to say exactly.
The low budget remake.
Yeah, 1-to-1, I guess. I want
Because I
to say
think they're
low budget, but like very.
they're reusing the same voice lines and everything. They're just upscaling the voice lines. They're only improving on the graphics. And I'm guessing the controls. They haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, it's interesting they haven't talked about the controls yet. I don't mind the controls of that game. I think they're fine enough. But I will say with the game itself, it does look very impressive. I think I'm one of the only people here that's played this game.
It's on the list though. I'm looking. This and the collection coming out is pushing me closer and closer to playing through the franchise. But it did look good.
We didn't talk about the collect. I don't have a collection news story, but I guess that collection wasn't too hot at launch. Hopefully they actually fix it, because like there was a lot of issues, Bob. I think you were looking at like even especially the PC issues. Like they couldn't even get 720p for MGS1. they were like, oh man, guys, we gotta fake upscale the game, which I don't even know how they did that.
It's the Konami special.
Yeah, I would definitely be playing this via your favorite totally legal emulation methods. Because I actually own the copies legit. I just never play them on the original hardware, so I'm gonna emulate them.
Look at you, Bob. That is interesting. I am excited for this. Are you guys gonna wait for Delta or just play Snake Eater first, like the original?
I'd probably play Snake Eater first, depending on when Delta comes out and what comes out in between then. Just like what I want to play through wise. But yeah, and the collection has to go on sale as well, because that's how I'd play it.
Game is too old for me, so I'll just wait for the remake. Even if I even play the remake, who knows? Maybe it still controls terribly.
You
I mean,
have
the
zero
controls,
faith.
they're rough at first, but they grow on you after a bit. I say like after half an hour to an hour.
I never like these controls complaints, because like you get used to them like in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
It's like not traditional, but like yeah, you get so quickly used to them, they are not gonna bother you.
I do think it's worth pointing out too. I was pretty shocked that this showed up here. And I feel like it's another sort of maybe, I don't know, hint or sign in the right direction that Xbox is getting serious about, their like partnerships or kind of involvement with these Japanese studios. I know this isn't like a new game or anything, but still to get like a Konami kind of like new footage that hasn't been like PlayStation associated and it just has the Xbox logo on it. I mean, that's huge compared to like the last 10 years.
That seems to be what they're doing now, because I mean, we're getting all these announcements, even though they're third-party games still going to PlayStation. They're getting announced and getting big updates at Xbox, like Infinite Wealth, this Metal Gear Solid game, all the Persona stuff from Atlas. Like they're all getting announced at Xbox events, which is kind of crazy.
I do think it's also just because there are more Xbox events throughout the year than PlayStation events. PlayStation rarely has events, I feel like, anymore. And even when they do, they're pretty lackluster, especially with that showcase earlier this year. But I mean, that showcase was where they showed like that was the first reveal of Snake Eater Delta, whatever the fuck it's called.
Wait, was
But
it
yeah.
first showed at PlayStation Showcase?
Yeah, it was.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Is that the one with Foam Stars? That was right.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. What
a showcase. Yeah, but I do definitely agree with you, Bob. I think Xbox is getting more and more serious about trying to corner that Japanese market, or at least trying to get their Japanese games like not exclusive on PlayStation for reasons like, well, it's not going to sell well on Xbox in Japan, so we're not even going to make an Xbox version. Now they want to, at the very least, like say, hey, we have marketing. The game is on Xbox. Like you can play it on Xbox even if you buy it on PlayStation. That type of thing. We will see how that goes. But the next thing on this thing, man, I am tired. I'm sorry, y'all. Alan Wake 2 got some new gameplay. I don't think we have much to say, just seeing that the game is out, other than like this game is getting really high reviews. I went ahead and bought it. I have it all downloaded. I'm excited to play it. I know Bop's also downloaded it and is about to start it. So
Yeah, I mean,
we'll
I'll
have
just talk
more
about that here. Yeah,
yeah, go for it.
I think the trailers and like there was like a lot of hype coming into this, and my last thing was like, okay, I'm not a scary game guy or horror game or really anything. Like I am a very jumpy person, and seeing that like the everything come out about it, I was like, okay, if the reviews hit, like it's October, I'll give it a shot, and it getting like a 92, I was like, all right, it's like $40 with a discount code on the Epic Game Store on PC. Screw it. Like that's enough for me to say why not.
Yeah, I was basically waiting for those reviews, and when everyone was saying like, "Oh, it has Twin Peaks vibes," I'm like, "Oh, I'm in," because I'm a sucker for anything that's like Twin Peaks aesthetic. Despite never watching Twin Peaks, I should probably get around to that. Bench, you're gonna have to help me out here. Tell me what Ark Survival Ascended is.
It's pretty much a full remake of Ark Survival Evolved, which is a 2015 game. It's a survival game with dinosaurs and other like prehistoric but also high-tech stuff. It's kind of a mix of both. I really love
It's not a
this
sequel?
game, and it's cool to see it getting an Unreal. The sequel is coming later. This is an Unreal Engine 5 remake of Ark Survival
fuck?
Evolved.
I thought that
Vin
was just a
Diesel
game you were showing
isn't
off.
in this.
Yeah, no, this Ark 2's sometime later, but this is the remake, and it looks good. The only bad thing is they're like charging you again, and you have to buy all the DLC
I was
again.
about to ask. Yeah, sold. It's
You
full,
have to buy all
full
the DLC
price.
again separately?
Yes, I'm pretty
the
sure.
fuck?
Don't. I think they said that around launch.
Okay,
It's
I'll
out
try to
on.
look something
It's
up.
it was already. I think it dropped on PC already, and is coming to consoles in a month or a couple months, which is cool. Also, like they were already having issues on PC. The studio, like this studio, is like ass backwards in like everything they do. So when they
Yeah.
release something, it's gonna be broken, and it eventually get fixed. And it's always on PC first, and then the console launch is a clusterfuck. But once it works fine enough, and it's always a fun time. It's a guilty pleasure for sure that I play with friends. So I'll
You
buy
do
it when
have
it's
to
on
buy the
sale.
you do have to buy the DLC. That is
Something really
man.
interesting. Because I don't really know anyone who plays Ark or anything, but watching the show live, the chat, they were just
You know
spamming
me.
the absolute fuck out of this game. I didn't understand what the fuck the hype was about. I mean, the game looked nice, sure, but like, there's a lot of fucking Ark fans out there.
It's a popular game.
Yeah, that's one
It's-
of those games where it's like you didn't think it had an audience until you see it and you're like, wait, you guys exist? And then it's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, it's a very silent audience, and also as well as Arc 2, Arc the anime is coming soon.
And we don't
I
talk
forgot
about
that existed.
here.
So
It's a
did I, and
gaming
I'm just reading the
podcast.
Xbox Wire
But yeah, Ark
article.
definitely
so.
seems like that game that
Wait, it
kind
was
of
in the
like just took
Xbox One.
over a certain generation of gamers. Like we kind of had like Minecraft and like some other games like that. Like there's a certain like age group that hit like just the right time for Ark to be like the biggest thing for them, and that's that entire
That was
crowd.
yep. That,
Yeah,
that's me.
I had
That's
friends
me.
that played Ark, and they were like, "Yo, you should try it with us." I'm like, "Hell yeah, man, let's do it." And I tried it. I'm like, "Well, this game fucking sucks." I'm sorry.
Like,
I
yeah.
hate survival games. Sorry, that's all it
The
is.
thing with Ark was I played split screen with a friend for like 1,000 hours over a period of years.
Christ.
But the thing is, the game we play on like the Xbox One VCR, so the game ran like shit, and on split screen you can only be so far away. It was like the worst possible experience to play a game, but we had the best time in the world, and it's some of my most fondest gaming memories. So we'll check it out together eventually, and it'll be a fun time. We just both want it to go on sale. I'm not talking. I'm referring to the
okay,
friend I just mentioned.
Okay. I was like, I was
Yeah.
about to say we.
So
Next thing up, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth introduced a new thing, new mode called. I'm trying to figure this out. Dondoko Island. It very much looks like a life sim esque
It's
feature.
literally Animal Crossing.
Yeah. Man. I like. I mean, listen, if it's not New Horizons, I do like Animal Crossing, but like,
And it's
I don't
I do want to point out it's not necessarily a mode. It's like in the world you can just go here and like it's like basically in the game. Like it's
It's kind
one
of
of
like
those like side quests.
yeah, it's like one of those. It's kind of like the stock market game in the last one.
Right.
It's just like its own separate game.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Interesting.
Infinite Wealth continues to look like one of the best games ever made. It's crazy.
Yep. They're nailing it. I'm excited to check out what they can do with that game. January 26th, they reconfirmed that date. It's gonna be a good one. Um,
Segways.
yeah, I'm not.
Segues.
Segue into. No, that didn't work. The next game is Still Wakes the Deep. This was something they showed off at the Xbox E3 earlier. Day one Game Pass. It looks like a horror game. Not much to go off of there.
It's a walking sim.
Oh, it's a walking sim. Oh,
At least what
no.
everyone looks like from this trailer is just a lot of walking and things happen around you.
It is interesting. It's the Chinese room, which they did Dear Esther, Amnesia, Machine for Pigs. So like they have like a repertoire for this type of stuff, but I don't know. Like I haven't seen anything that's gonna sell me on it. And I'm kind of like with Benji, how you are with horror games. That's kind of how I am with like non-survival horror games. Like I like survival horror. I don't really like just like this walking sim type horror game.
Yeah, this is still a pass for me. It is not like Alan Wake 2 at least is doing something a little more interesting and unique. If it's straight horror like this, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. You guys have
I
fun.
feel you. I respect it. I respect it. Next was
I mean, I'll
Manor
check it out
Lord.
just because it's on Game
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Pass. So
Mhm.
at least I'll check it out. Granted, it could come out during a busy time, and I'll just like completely ignore it because 2024 just keeps growing in games I want to play. But yeah, it's
I,
walking sims don't do. Granted, horror anything doesn't really do much for me. Like I'm not scared by stuff like that. So the fact that the horror aspects won't even get me, I'm not even looking forward to that. So I'm not even looking forward to a walking sim and puzzles.
Nah, like I haven't been scared by a horror game since playing Silent Hill 2. And it's like how Bob is like, oh man, any horror game. It's like I think Silent Hill 2 would kill you, Bob. Like straight up, that game is fucking
I really
horrifying.
need to play that.
It's genuinely one of the scariest experiences I've ever played through.
I'm gonna play it and just be like, eh.
Yeah, you're not allowed to play it. That's why. Next game, Manor Lords. I don't know much about this. Looks interesting enough. Yeah, if you're excited for it. Then they did Ikaro Will Not Die. This kind of had like a hi-fi rush-esque aesthetic, but not nearly as like detailed. It looks interesting, but I think this is kind of a pass for me. If it is Game Pass, maybe I'll download it. But the roguelite elements get me excited. But other than that, like this just hasn't sold me yet. I'm waiting for the trailer to sell me on it.
It looks good, but or at least like I shouldn't say it. The movement specifically, because I feel like that's like the thing they have to nail. That looked good enough where it's like, okay, this is definitely something I will keep my eye on. But yeah, nothing enough to like sell me.
Yeah, it was
I'm
interesting looking enough to just keep an eye on.
gonna speed through the rest of these. Spirit of the North 2. I don't think anyone's too excited for this one. It looks interesting enough.
The fact that it got a sequel when one
Yeah,
just
really.
kind of came and went is just it looked like shovelware on GameStop's shelf every time I looked at it. So yeah.
Another trailer for RoboCop Rogue City. This is coming out November 2nd. This is like next week, actually. I've been hearing good things about it, but this is one of those like, there's something off about the gameplay. I can't quite make it out. But yeah, I don't know. There's nothing too exciting coming out of that trailer.
I was hoping it was going to get an S for Game Pass at this trailer, and I was severely disappointed.
Dungeons of Hinterberg. This was that game they showed off at the Xbox E3 that had the horrible frame rate. It looked a bit better here, but it still hasn't done enough to sell me on it. It is a Game Pass game, so maybe if you want to jump into it, it's worth it.
Yeah, it seems it's this. I'm trying to figure out what this game is. It seems like it's a roguelite where you go in and do like your job of hunting monsters or whatever. But then they have this trailer is all about like the social aspect. So you got a persona thing going on here where you're like making connections and these connections give you like power ups and whatnot. So
So,
I don't know. It's a weird mishmash and we'll have to see how it fits.
And then finally, it's the finals. If you don't know, this was the game that's by the ex-Battlefield developers. It it looks very good. I'm interested in it. It did have the closed beta, which started actually yesterday, from when we're recording this. I'm waiting to hear some impressions, how people feel about this game. I'm not very big on Battlefield. I never really liked the feeling of the guns in Battlefield versus like Call of Duty, where Call of Duty is much more arcadey. Battlefield is a lot more like, I guess, for lack of a better word, like realistic in the ways that the guns feel and whatnot. It's never done much for me, but I will say that the fully destructible environments that this game has are really exciting. I'm gonna keep a lookout for it. I'm not. It's tough with these like multiplayer games. I feel like it's always like, oh, it comes from this major ex like Battlefield devs, ex Call of Duty devs, and then it always comes out and dies on release. It's like, damn. I hope one day like we can get one of those games and it'll actually like be a big success.
It's just like, how do you make the giants of Call of Duty and Battlefield bleed? It's like, you can't.
I mean, am I crazy for like thinking that we haven't really? I mean, when stuff like God, what was that Ubisoft one called?
X Defiant,
No, the like futuristic looking one.
Hyperscape.
Hyperscape.
Oh.
It's like like RIP. This could easily be another one of those. But what's interesting right now is I feel like the battle royales in general have cooled off for the most part, and you're
This one's
not.
not a battle royale.
Is it not?
yeah, we haven't gotten a battle royale in quite some time. They definitely did die off.
Wait, then I thought this was.
This is like a hero shooter, if I
Yeah,
remember.
we're leaning more into like competitive, team-based, sometimes hero shooter kind of stuff, like the Foam Stars. Now this. and
Okay.
we got a lot of team-based stuff now
Right.
instead of like free-for-all battle royales.
Okay. Then I
feel like-
totally missed the memo on what this game's actually about. So
Well,
yeah.
Okay, now I'm getting
What?
conflicting reports.
Oh, really?
Because dude, I don't understand. I'm trying to figure this out. But you go ahead and talk. I'm gonna see if I can figure this out.
Because it feels like if it's not a battle royale, like I kind of lumped it in with like battle royale slash maybe like extraction, like team v team, and there's like one goal, so maybe it's like 4 teams of 3 or whatever. But it does kind of feel like we're in a lull right now with multiplayer competitive shooters where not really anything. There hasn't been too many things. Like I feel like BattleBit, that Roblox looking Battlefield game that came out this year, kind of stole some spotlight. But it's like even Fortnite's having a little bit of resurgence, and like Warzone I guess is doing okay. But it's like I feel like there is an opportunity here for someone to just come out and really reinvigorate the shooter scene right now.
They're definitely trying with how many we've been getting like every once in a while, but they're trying to do something. At least they're trying something different. Like with Foam Stars, you got that whole foam mechanic. With this, you got the destructible environments. So at least they're trying something to at least have like, hey, here's our unique mechanic that will make us stand out from the typical Call of Duties.
So someone here is lying, just because the Push Square article says the finals is another live service battle royale competitor, but one that looks like it might have some teeth. But then earlygame.com says, contrary to what some players might believe, the base game mode in the finals is not a battle royale. So from what I see, Push Square is the only one who is convinced that it's a battle royale. I'm thinking it's not a battle royale. But I also feel like that's kind of a failure in the marketing. I feel like the first line should say, "Hey, this is not a battle royale, by the way, guys." Like just something to tell me, because
They're probably just lumping battle royale into like just last team standing kind of thing.
God, that's not a battle
I mean-
royale though. I'm mad.
Push Square kind of sounds like me, where they're just like, close enough, and they're just like
That's another
rounding to
one.
like they're rounding to a genre, and they're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like watching the trailer again. Yeah, there's classes. It's like teams of 3.
It's like
They're
a
all
hero shooter.
It's more hero shooter because you have like different classes doing different things.
But it's like, how many teams are there? Because that's where it's like, if there's only like 4, okay, that's closer to like a competitive shooter. But if there's 20, and it's like, okay, well, that's more of a battle royale. So I don't, yeah.
Do they have a
Interesting.
website?
They do. I'm also on the Wikipedia to see if.
Man, you guys.
Come
we're
to find
digging.
out, the Wikipedia is written by Push Square.
Well,
Which Square
That's
really
fine.
does not want this game to succeed. Did they say the beta's only on Xbox? Let's check.
Oh yeah, here's the website, reachthefinals.com. We're gonna do live research.
We apologize for the
You know, like beta
unprofessionalism
is out.
of
One
this
of us can
podcast.
just. I have it downloaded. I should just boot up the game and find out.
Well, no, it's a closed beta. We're not
No, I
allowed.
got in. It's
you
nothing
know what?
bad.
This is good podcasting because there's no way anyone listening to this knows exactly what the finals is either. So I feel like we're doing a service
I'm pretty
that
certain
no other
some people-
podcast is doing and bringing you the news.
I'm
As it,
thinking half of our cast doesn't even know what the finals is. So we're running a
Hold on,
tight
I'm going
ship
to their
around here.
Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, even their website doesn't have barely anything. It says, in the files, nothing can stand in your way. Crash through walls and ceilings, destroy anything and everything in sight. Build bridges and barricades in this fast-paced, high-stakes fight for fame on the world's biggest stage.
Just
Nothing
say
is-
if it's a what? Just say what it is.
Okay, on their Twitter, they just call it a
That's so
free-to-play first-person shooter. God damn it, tell me if it's...
That
oh,
is
okay.
everything.
I finally got it.
Oh, you
Digital
got it? Okay.
trends. Digital trends. The finals is the shakeup the competitive first-person shooter needs. Their extraction mode is 4 teams of 3. So it is more of like an arena competitive
Arena-
shooter.
Yeah, hero shooter, like competitive arena
Oh,
hero shooter.
extraction mode though. This very
It-
much could just be one.
Right. That's going to be their primary mode, though. I think that's like
Okay.
going to be the main sell. Which is funny because that sounds a lot like what Fair Games, that PlayStation
God
game,
bless
is
Fair
gonna-
Game.
gonna be,
Game of
so-
the year, baby.
So all of a sudden, the extraction and Marathon too isn't Marathon kind of an extraction?
Yeah, I think it's
like
supposed to be an
shooter?
extraction shooter, yeah.
That's an
Okay, You heard it here first.
Ev-
Extraction shooters are the new battle royale.
Well,
It
that's how it works. Escape from Tarkov got really popular, so now all the devs are like, we got to do extraction shooter. Like this is what happened with battle royales. When Fortnite did battle royale, everyone's like, we got to do battle royale. Like everyone's trying to find some way to make the first-person shooter genre stick in their own unique sense, but it just isn't working. It's very rough to get into the FPS space.
So I'll
Well,
play the beta
I'll-
after the podcast.
Bro got into the beta and didn't even give me a code. Come on.
I didn't even get a code. I just signed up on the Xbox store.
Oh, that's fucked up. Moving on. Nintendo shocks competitive fans with some strict new community tournament guidelines. This comes from Alex Stedman over at IGN. So basically, Nintendo effectively changed a lot of their tournament guidelines. Right here, I have the story. The guidelines posted on both Nintendo's Japan and UK websites on Tuesday. Specifically, nothing from the US website. It's very important to know. Dictate the terms for not-for-profit, small-scale community tournaments involving games for which Nintendo owns the copyright. So basically, tournaments that Nintendo themselves do not run. These are the major highlights that Alex Stedman kind of wanted to throw in. These are the kind of big things that I wanted to talk about. Community tournaments may not generate commercial revenue except as permitted by these guidelines. A cap of 200 participants in person or 300 for online tournaments. Organizers may not receive compensation from third-party sponsors and may not sell food, beverage, or merchandise. No prizes exceeding a market value of £4,500, £5,000 in total. Oh wait, no, that's not pounds, it's euros. Wait, yeah, 5,000 euros in total. I'm an American. No spectator fees for online tournaments, and organizers must publicly disclose all accounting related to the cost of hosting the events promptly. Very interesting highlights. Again, this is only in Japan and the UK. It's very much assumed that it's going to be in the US. I followed the competitive Smash community for quite a while after Ultimate came out, and even before then with Smash 4. I kind of stopped around I want to say 2020 or whatnot. And I am a big fan of competitive Smash, but these guidelines are pretty ridiculous. I don't know how you guys feel about these.
I'd say, yeah, they're ridiculous on one side. There's kind of, I don't like how they're trying to control everything, but on the other side, the overall community's done a lot to warrant that as well. I won't get into specifics, but
Oh yeah, we
there's a
can't get
reason
into
they're
the
trying to be.
specifics.
But there's
Not even. They've
there's
been
a lot
doing
of
like this.
reasons. There's a
Nintendo
reason why
always been stingy
Nintendo
with
wants to have
Smash.
control. Yeah.
Even before everything happened, they've been like this, so it's nothing new. Just Nintendo being Nintendo.
It's not. Well, this is very much a situation where like they they were like, I feel like after everything that happened, I think around 2020. I might be wrong. I think it was 2021 actually. But like there was like this big, huge community drama. I don't want to get into the specifics, but like a lot of bad stuff happened with a lot of like prominent members of the community, and it kind of led to I feel like Nintendo almost shunning the Smash community. But the big thing, this doesn't just affect Smash. This affects Splatoon as well. Splatoon tournaments, those guys have just been chilling. So like they're just sitting here like, what the fuck did we do? I feel like I don't know why. The funniest one to me is a cap of 200 participants in person. I just imagine like someone hosting a tournament. It's like 201 participants, and then a Nintendo Ninja shows up. It's like, all right, you got to shut this thing down. I feel like this is probably a situation that's going to develop over the coming weeks and months and whatnot. I can't imagine that Nintendo's going to back down. They're not ones to back down. This is very much how they work. They say, hey, these are our new rules. If you don't want to follow them, tough shit. I hope maybe I hope by chance Nintendo decides to actually run their own tournaments more often. But even then, usually when that happens, it doesn't go well. I want some universe where competitive Smash does well. That's all I'll say. It's just getting tougher and tougher out there for the people who participate, though. Moving on. Microsoft. Yeah, they're back in the news.
I'm here.
My man was asleep during Smash. Okay.
No, I
Now
was
I
trying
gotta
to play the finals.
You're playing the finals right now? God, this is an
I'm
unprofessional
playing the
podcast.
tutorial to figure out what this thing is.
Oh yeah.
Microsoft reorganizes its Xbox and marketing teams to prepare for an AI and gaming future. This comes from Tom Warren over at The Verge. Microsoft is reorganizing its Xbox gaming and marketing leadership less than 2 weeks after acquiring Activision Blizzard. Microsoft is promoting Matt Booty to president of game content and studios, including the new responsibility of ZeniMax, and Sarah Bond to Xbox president, overseeing all Xbox platform and hardware work. On the marketing side, Chief Marketing Officer I'm going to try my best here. Capicella is stepping down after 32 years at Microsoft. The Xbox change means Booty. Sorry. The Xbox change means Booty will now lead an expanded organization, include Microsoft Gaming, that now includes ZeniMax and Bethesda. Quote, ZeniMax will continue to operate as a limited integration entity led by Jamie Letter, president and CEO, reporting to Matt, end quote, explains Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer in an internal memo obtained by The Verge. Booty's expanded role should help Microsoft Gaming avoid scenarios like Redfall in the future, with Microsoft clearly focusing on better collaboration between the teams it acquired with ZeniMax/Bethesda acquisition. I'm going to ask right off the top how we feel about these changes, how we think this will affect Xbox's future, anything
Well, I
in that
mean, it's
regard.
like what we've been saying on the podcast for a while now. Is like they needed that oversight. Like otherwise, you're gonna have another situation like a Redfall, and now Booty and other people are gonna be directly on hands with everything now.
Yeah, something needed to change, but I think another interesting topic of conversation is Pete Hines left like a week ago or whatever.
Oh yeah, this is relating to Pete Hines leaving.
He must have not gotten some sort of promotion he wanted and didn't see a future of himself progressing in Microsoft, so he just left, which is valid. But I also think Matt Booty is not good at his job, so I don't know. I feel like hopefully things get better, and obviously this was a strategic move to make sure there is more oversight. Because they're having so many different studios and companies now. Something like this needed to happen for sure.
The big hope is with Booty maybe having more oversight, he could prevent a Redfall from happening. I feel like he should have prevented a Redfall from happening regardless, but again, if they have expanded oversight, maybe that will prevent situations like a Redfall from happening. Maybe I'm going to say this. Maybe Pete Hines wasn't good at his job. Is that like a fair enough assessment? Because Pete Hines was head of publishing, so he very much had like a direct overlook at Redfall and was like, yeah, man, totally cool. I think it's just clear like there is some major issues going on in terms of like oversight, and hopefully these changes will help in regards to making that a lot better.
I don't think we know enough, like at Bethesda's organizational chart to really be able to confidently point to anyone in particular. I think what Bench said about Hines maybe seeing the writing on the wall with the Xbox acquisition, being like, yeah, this isn't like, and he's been there for so long, he probably got a payday from the acquisition and then was like, well, I could leave now, but like I really want to see the launch of Starfield and like help shepherd that in. So after that, like that's a good breaking point. And then seeing this, it's like, oh yeah, well this is definitely a great time to leave because now Booty's going to come in and that'll change up the structure. But yeah, I don't think we know enough at Bethesda to kind of point fingers. But hopefully, I'm also not willing to maybe commit to like saying Matt Booty's bad at his job. But this will definitely be an interesting test to see. Okay, like is the quality control there? But also, Wolf, did you mention Sarah Bond?
Yeah, do
Okay.
you ever listen to me?
No, I don't. I heard the marketing and I heard Booty. I must have
you blanked out after Booty. It happens
Yeah,
with us.
yeah, as we
You're all thinking
we
about
always
Booty.
do.
I do want to transition into Sarah Bond. Like, it's very clear. I feel like they are kind of like hyping up Sarah Bond to basically be the next head of Xbox when Phil Spencer eventually leaves. Yeah.
This is
I
like
completely agree.
this is like in sports when like a head coach has been at a team for a long time and he's getting old and he knows he's retiring. They'll usually like kind of be like, yeah, the offensive coordinator, like he's a young up and coming guy. He's guaranteed the job afterwards. This kind of feels like that. I know I just made a sports reference on a video game podcast, so that might go over people's heads. But
hey, we mentioned anime here. Like everything's being mentioned apparently.
yeah. So, but yeah, that definitely seems like Sarah's got a great trajectory. She seems to get positive feedback from the community. She seems also just like a wonderful person and seems really good at her job. So I am definitely all for this.
Yeah,
I
really
completely agree. I
Go ahead,
think
Bench.
she'll be a great successor for Phil, but I do think it's interesting to point out, it's not a negative at all, it's just like interesting to look at that she's only been in Microsoft since 2017, I believe. And I mean, that's relatively new for getting that position, and I'm all for it. I'm not like saying she doesn't deserve the job. I think it's just something interesting to look at.
Bench really skirting around. But I will say I do agree with you that it is interesting, but also I think she has had a history in tech in this field. I'm gonna search up real quick just to make sure, but
Oh yeah,
she's definitely like been in other areas in tech before.
I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it or isn't qualified. It's just because at these big companies, you do see like the Jim Ryan who was at Sony for 30 years reach the top, and I'm
Bill's
definitely
been with
not against
Microsoft
it.
for forever, so yeah, you're definitely right with making that observation. Like it is kind of not a long time in the grand scheme of things. Real quick, while Wolf's looking that up, I do want to point out I'm kind of glad that the marketing officer is stepping down, because if I had one criticism of any like department outside of obviously gaming, I think their marketing has just been bad so many
World
times, and that
reveal.
has shot themselves in the foot so many times. And like honestly, the way Bench talks about Matt Booty, I kind of talk about Aaron Greenberg. I don't really like Aaron Greenberg, and
I do not like that man.
I don't think like it's nothing personal. I just think he is online too much and not really good at the whole marketing thing. Granted, this has nothing to do with him. He just took a ricochet. Sorry, Aaron. But like, I do hope that maybe the new person, Mr. Nemoto, maybe changes some things and we get some better marketing coming out of the Xbox team, because I think that's where they could improve a lot.
So from what I've seen, she was an associate partner at McKinsey and Company for a while, and then she was like a senior vice president at T-Mobile, and then board members of Chegg and Zuora. But her main thing is Microsoft after T-Mobile. So she does have an quite. This is Sarah Bond, by the way. She has a history with tech and like the tech space. So I think she would probably work out pretty well as a CEO for Microsoft. Obviously, we don't know until we get there, but from everything I've seen, it's like, yeah, she definitely seems like the best successor for Phil. What if we're all wrong and Matt Booty becomes the CEO of Microsoft
Yeah,
Xbox?
I mean, yeah, who's to say? But also, who's replacing Bobby? Because obviously we know that's a golden parachute, but like, is it what's his
Ybarra?
face? Yeah, Ibarra. Yeah, does
I
Ibarra
think
take over?
so. I think Mike Ybarra is going to focus on Blizzard. I think they're going to try to get someone new from Activision. I think that's just way too big. I think they want to avoid a Redfall situation where like there's just too many studios and like they weren't paying enough attention to this one studio. It's like, okay, they're going to have Mike Ybarra for Blizzard. They're going to have Matt Booty for Xbox Game Studios and Bethesda. So he kind of got promoted in that regard. He's overseeing all of that. And I guess someone else for Activision. I think they should try to get someone else on top of that because I just think there's just too many studios to look over. I think there's a lot of criticisms maybe you can levy towards Herman Holst, but I think the thing about Herman Holst is that he inherited a lot of like the job from like Sean Layden and whatnot. So it was kind of just like, hey, these studios are much more self-efficient. You don't have to do as much. Actually, Herman inherited from Shuhei Yoshida. That's a fault on my end. But I think it is going to be a situation where you kind of need as many eyes as you can on all these studios because they have so many studios now.
100%.
But yeah, Microsoft doing a lot of restructuring, exciting news. Next news story is a big collection of news stories. We got a lot of sales numbers. I kind of want to run through these. You can stop me if you really want to say something real quick about these. The first one is from PlayStation. Spider-Man 2 has sold more than 2.5 million copies in the first 24 hours. Thanks for making it a high-flying launch. I'll say it right off the bat, deserved. And I'll also say, holy shit, that is a lot of souls. That is a lot of copies of Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean,
Deserved.
deserved. The possibility of it being over 5 million now is also very much.
It's like
in
it's
that
gonna be there by
I think
Christmas.
it's going to be 5 million, yeah.
I think it's 5
It's a-
million now, to be honest.
No, I mean, it could,
I don't-
honestly.
I mean,
There's not that
24
many
hours.
PS5s.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to have a massive attach rate whenever you look at when we get updated numbers of PS5 with Spider-Man. It's got to be a big attach rate for sure.
I think it's also in this regard because the last fastest selling Sony game was God of War Ragnarok. Again, deserved 5.1 million units during its first week. So this is 2.5 million in the first 24 hours. I think it's going to beat that pretty handily.
Not in the same time frame, but I think it will definitely beat it in the long run.
Yeah, by the time we get the week numbers, I think it beats it. So yeah,
I
it
don't know
kind of
about
tells
that
you.
because think about this: Ragnarok was also available on PS4.
I feel like
Here we go.
everyone who's buying a PS5 is gonna buy Spider-Man 2. I genuinely think that.
But that still doesn't. But there's also a giant fan base of people who only have a PS4 and haven't upgraded. So they got Ragnarok on their PS4, and Spider-Man 2 is only on PS5. So we're only have to count on only the PS5 fan base to get this. None of the leftover PS4 people.
There's like 40 million
that,
PS5s.
I know that Ragnarok was on both, but man, I can't imagine experiencing Ragnarok on the PS4. I don't know.
A lot of people did.
A
I
lot of
mean,
people
I
did.
think
know a lot of people did.
I think Moon makes up a good point. I still think just the IP name, the sales number is enough to.
I'm not
overall
saying
beat
it's
it.
not going to dwindle, but I'm just saying it's not going to be as fast because God of War Ragnarok had the benefit of being on both PS5 and PS4 at launch, whereas this is only going to be on PS5. So it's going to reach that 5 million, but it's probably not going to do it as fast as God of War Ragnarok did.
I do think it won't be as big as like a second launch, but when that new version of the PS5 launch, I imagine people will be picking that up with Spider-Man if they don't have one already.
Everyone who buys a PS5 now is going to get it with Spider-Man. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Yep.
For
100%.
sure.
Next sales numbers. This is a quick one. In its first 3 days on sale, Super Mario Bros. Wonder has become the fastest selling Super Mario game ever in Europe. This is Nintendo of Europe who said this. So that's exciting in and of itself. We don't have any concrete sales data, but I bet by the next financial quarter we're gonna get some real sales stats. Bop, this one's for you. The
Oh,
Outer
yeah.
Worlds has passed over 5 million copies sold.
Hell yeah. Love that game.
Let's
Great
go.
game.
Great game,
Yeah.
bad final boss.
Yeah.
Final boss, dude.
I'll use this opportunity to congratulate Obsidian. I would imagine that was because the Spacer's Choice Edition was
Yeah,
the
definitely.
thing that put him over, which bad launch on that regard, but I'm glad they got that stuff fixed. I'm using this as a PSA. Play the DLC. The was it Paralon Gorgon and Murder of Eridanos or Murder on Eridanos, which I think the fact that I can still remember the names of those DLCs should say like how good they are, because I feel like I never remember like the names of these DLCs. But specifically the Murder on Eridanos was just an incredible time. Like I adore that DLC. So yeah, if you haven't played Outer Worlds, and if you felt like you're burnt by Starfield and want something a little more concise, that would be the game I'd recommend.
Hey, I'll give Outer Worlds this. It's better than Starfield.
Okay.
I will say though, I do want to go back and play that DLC. I think I'm gonna wait around the range of Outer Worlds 2 though. Like go for a full playthrough of that game with the DLC kind of all together before Outer Worlds 2. That seems like a plan. So in 2028.
There you go.
Next one, we got some Capcom sales. By the way, the last one came from Shinobi with Outer Worlds, and he comes in with the Capcom sales numbers. Resident Evil 4 Remake has sold through nearly 5.5 million copies since launch, says Capcom. Street Fighter 6 is at 2.5 million. Very, very good sales numbers for both games. If you ask Bench, I think he thinks RE4 is a failure.
Oh,
Okay,
I
well,
thought RE4. I thought it would have done a little better. I mean, with the RE4
5.5 is pretty
namesake
good.
and it being also on PS5, PS4, I just thought it's great sales numbers. I honestly was just expecting a bigger number at the end of the day.
So, what would you expect?
I mean, 8 to 9.
Oh my god.
I mean, I just thought it would be one of those top-selling games of the year just because of the namesake and it being not a just next-gen exclusive.
Not that you're asking for like that is like in
I mean,
7 months. I feel like that's quite a bit.
horror games don't sell that well.
I
Like I know it's Resident
is the
Evil. I
exception.
know, right, but it's still a very, in the grand scheme of things, niche genre.
I will
Niche
say the
genre,
Street Fighter.
niche franchise in a way.
I will say the Street Fighter 6 sales kind of just nailed it. That it's still a fighting game.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's not going to be a 10 million seller. Even
Yeah.
Street Fighter 6 will not sell 10 million copies. Unless they do what Street Fighter 2 did and re-release it like 20 times. Maybe it has a chance then. And then final sales thing. Starfield, my favorite game. Benji Sales has this. Satya Nadella announces on the Microsoft earnings call that Starfield launch generated the highest single day of Game Pass subscribers in the history of the service. I'm not too surprised by this.
Yeah, this is
Bethesda
not
games are
surprising at
massive,
all.
and very much like people who are like, okay, well, I want to play Starfield. I'll just sign up for Game Pass real quick and play through it on that first month. But yeah, that's everything in regards to sales. Lots of sales. Video games are doing better than ever. Next thing, I want to talk about Fallout. This comes from the Fallout Twitter account. Please remain calm. An important dated message brought to you by your friends at Prime Video. Warrior64. Like, I didn't want to watch the teaser again. So Warrior64 put Fallout, Amazon's live action series, premiering on April 12th, 2024. Just a quick date announcement. I was expecting a lot more from Bomb's Drop Day. I thought they wanted to do something more substantial, like a teaser trailer, like an actual teaser trailer showing the show. I always forget just how like quick, like they don't show TV shows and movies until like a few months out until release. Like I'm always surprised by that.
Yeah, but I feel like TV and movies also have the most annoying thing in the world, where the second an actor signs a contract, it gets leaked, so we hear about it for 5 years, and it actually comes out, and it's like, God, I wish that would stop. It's so annoying.
It's you know how actors are. They like to spill the beans. I will say I don't. What's our anticipation for this show? Because I am struggling to feel the excitement. I need that trailer. I will say the teaser trailer that leaked. It did look promising in terms of the aesthetic, but like I hope they nail the story, the vibes of Fallout, because Fallout as an IP is very special. There is a certain vibe to the way that those games handle dark humor, especially with a lot of the older games and New Vegas. I hope they nail that vibe, especially. I'm interested to see if they go for a more. This one's in Los Angeles, so I'm thinking they want to try to lean more towards like the Fallout 1 and 2 aesthetic and vibe, which those games took place in California as well. I guess like what is our anticipation with this show?
I won't watch it, so
I think we're still in a weird kind of feeling out point with all of these different streaming services and their corresponding video game shows, because you get Paramount Plus with Halo, and it was for all intents and purposes a wet fart, and then you get The Last of Us on HBO and you're like, whoa, this is really good, and then you get Twisted Metal on Peacock and it's like, okay, this is not what I was expecting but still entertaining. And to my knowledge, this is Prime Video's first foray into the video game.
Prime's going hard into it. This is like their first one, but they've also like signed on for like Mass Effect.
God
Right.
of War.
Right.
God
Yeah.
of
So
War.
it's like I don't like, because if this was like HBO, I would have like a better confidence in it. But yeah, I really think we're gonna need to have to see like a real trailer with dialogue and see more of it. But
Yeah,
I
we'll
guess
get that come like January.
yeah. So it's like, I don't know, cautious optimism.
If we
Oh,
get
I bet there's gonna be a
MCU
Super Bowl
dialogue-
ad.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's gonna be something in the Super Bowl. I am scared if it's gonna have like the cheesy MCU-esque dialogue. That's kind of like I'm worried about that part. I will say I don't know much about like the people making the show. They seem fine enough, but like I'm waiting. I like you guys say, I'm waiting for that trailer. I love Fallout. It's a franchise that's very special to me, and I'm excited to see where they can go with this show. Next news story. Another story, another sad story for me specifically, because I love this studio. Dreams and Little Big Planet studio Media Molecule is reportedly laying off 15 to 20% of its staff. The studio ended support for Dreams in September. Sports Illustrated GLHF says the studio held an internal meeting today and told staff that it planned to lay off around 20 of its 135 employees. The news comes a month after Media Molecule ended support for Dreams, which was released in early access in April 2019 before officially launching in 2020 of February. I will say this one affected me. I don't know. I don't think you guys are big Little Big Planet fans. That franchise is one I really grew up with. I'm a huge Little Big Planet fan. Little Big Planet 3 sucked, and that was because it was not made by Media Molecule. But the first two games are ones that I am a huge fan of. Like I spent countless hours as a kid playing those games, playing user created levels, all that good shit. Dreams was such a weird game to me because that was one that was revealed literally when the PS4 was revealed, and it took legit 7 years for that game to come out. And when it came out, I just feel like it didn't get the support it needed from Sony because it just wasn't a roaring success right off the bat. It was a game that felt like it needed to be nurtured, and I feel like Sony kind of failed in that regard. What it needed was a PC port because at the end of the day, PC modders and creators, they're a lot more creative than run of the mill Joe on his PlayStation 4 that he got for Christmas. And I feel like if you gave it to the PC community, they would have done some really interesting and cool stuff. I am disappointed by this news. I hope this doesn't mean that any more layoffs happen at Media Molecule. I hope Media Molecule can jump off of this. I think what's best for them is to just either do a new IP or go back to Little Big Planet. In some regards, I think Dreams just did not work. I think they work a lot better with something like Tearaway. Tearaway is another game that they made. I was a big fan of. It is a studio that is very special to me, so hearing all this was not very happy for me. Moving on to a studio that you guys like, Ubisoft.
I deny these
Steven-
accusations.
No. You especially are not escaping from these accusations. Steven Totillo over on Twitter had this Ubisoft game release update delays its mystery large game parentheses Star Wars, most likely that's what it means, to financial year 2024-2025, meaning April 2024 or later. And they, friend of the show, Skull and Bones, they are adamant it's going to release in Q4, meaning January to March. I'm just going to ask right off the bat. Is it? No.
No.
Does it?
What is
Wait,
this?
are you saying it actually if it exists?
No, if it's going to release in January to March, around that range.
Oh yeah, like if it's they could just shove it out in January, get it lost in the shuffle around that, and be like, oh yeah, we released it. Oh yeah, we released it months ago, and just like pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, but
What?
like
Skull and
you could have said that for the last like 6 years.
That's
It's
the
like
thing,
how have
it's like-
they not done that yet?
The game
the
doesn't
fact is,
exist.
like this game was supposed to come out, if you remember, the same week as God of War Ragnarok, and then from there it was supposed to come out in March of this year, and then they're like, guys, we have to delay it again. We can't figure this game out. And then it was like, guys, it's coming out this year, and then they're like, wait, actually, it's coming out financial year. It's like, when the fuck is this thing coming out? No one's excited for it anymore. I don't know what's going on with it.
I need there to be like was it like a no clip
Yep.
or Jason
was just gonna
Schreier?
say
Like
that.
I need the full documentary on this game because God, is this just the most fascinating game development nightmare I think in the history of gaming.
I just I don't know what's happening. It's funny because like everyone was saying it's like, yo, this game looks cool. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, they're gonna make a whole game of it, and then it was like, oh, it's just the pirate ship stuff. It's like, oh, that's disappointing. And then they're like,
It's supposed
no,
to
no,
compete with Sea of Thieves.
Isn't there also rumors of like a Black Flag remake now?
Yeah, they don't care about this game anymore. But like, I say that, but as Bob said, why not just release it then? They could have dumped it anywhere. God bless you, Ubisoft. There were a couple other headlines here. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, it's still hitting that December 7th. Division Resurgence, the mobile game. Oh wait, hang on, my bad. Let me go back from the start. X Defiant, despite recent indefinite delay, slated to release by the end of March. Division Resurgence, the mobile game, is in that time frame as well. But notably, Assassin's Creed Jade, the mobile game, and Division Heartland still don't have time frames. Not much to say in that regard, I don't think. It will say X Defiant is a funny one. I feel like that game keeps getting delayed, even though when me and Moon played it seemed feature complete, but I guess they just cannot figure this game out. And Star Wars is kind of the big one. I don't think anyone was really expecting it to come out by March, though. Yeah, I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, I was surprised that was a window that was available.
Yeah, it seemed like a holiday vibe to me. It did look good in that trailer that we talked about back episode, but yeah, very much some big Ubisoft updates. What a company, guys! What a fun company. Moving on, Capcom has announced a new engine. This comes from Okami Games. Capcom has announced that a successor to RE Engine is in the works, codenamed Rex Engine. Like
Rex.
Metal Gear Rex. RE Engine is the next, and they put in red the X generation. Man, I hate marketing. REX Engine will include all previous features of RE Engine while adding support for new technologies and handling the growing size of assets more efficiently. The video is mostly intended for developers, but there was some interesting tidbits in it. I will say, I don't think there will be a lot for us as like viewers to know like if this will have like big changes for the games to come. From what I've heard of developers, this seems like a interesting W. I always gotta support Capcom for having an internal engine as flexible as the RE engine, and it seems like this engine is going to be just as flexible and just as easily supportable.
I mean, how do you make the RE engine better?
You just do.
I will
That's
say,
how you fix the hair.
I sometimes wonder if it would be like good for Capcom to like license out their engine. I don't think they do it, but I mean, you have to think it's something that could be pretty successful.
The thing about licensing engines, like it's like if they license it, it's like to a team. The team now has to learn this whole new proprietary engine, and it's like it is just easier for people to just use Unreal or Unity. Well, Unity before everything that happened and whatnot. All like kind of the big third-party engines. Those are just more easily accessible.
I feel like there's legitimately a lot of pressure on them to get this right because I feel like RE Engine more than any other engine, it's like, wait, this game's on this engine? Wait, this
Yeah, really?
like it's so good of an engine that it's like you cannot mess this up. You cannot have a a slipstream or slipspace moment with Halo where it's like, actually we're gonna go back to Unreal. Like you can't
I
afford to
cannot
do that.
believe that. I still can't believe that news story. I was like, what the fuck? You spent all this time making slip space? It's like, never mind.
Yeah, let's hope they nail it.
Let's hope they know it. This is a weird story. This next one here. This comes from Chris Scullion over at VGC. Long time PlayStation booth has left Sony. Update: Sony has now confirmed Booth's departure. PlayStation's head of internal production, Connie Booth, is reportedly no longer at Sony. Former Sony employee David Jaffe, I was gonna say friend of the show, but I don't think. I feel like he would take that one seriously, so never mind. Who created the God of War Twisted Metal series, tweeted on Sunday that there was some sad, frustrating, potentially super disrespectful news on the way that would mean the Sony we all came up with is mostly dead. Jaffe later confirmed that he was referring to Booth's departure, something that has yet to be officially confirmed by either Booth or Sony. Sony has now this is an update. Sony has now confirmed Booth's departure, though a reason has still not yet been given. A statement given to Axios by a PlayStation spokesperson said Booth, quote, helped drive the success of PlayStation Studios and it is experiencing today, and her passion in fostering an environment where a team's creative vision can fully flourish has left a positive impact on mini game developers. They added, we're thankful for Connie's numerous contributions to the company and wish her best in future endeavors. This is a weird situation. I feel like we don't really know much about what exactly happened. This is giving me a lot of flashbacks to the Sean Layden situation. If you remember back in like 2019, I want to say, Sean Layden kind of just left PlayStation, and we still don't know why. Like we still don't have any reason. It seemed to have been a very, I guess I don't know what the word is, like bad departure, very rough breakup, if anything else. I feel like this is almost a similar situation in that regard.
I'm so curious what happened with Sean Layden. Like the transition and him leaving, like I didn't notice it was happening for a long time. They obviously kind of like kept it quiet, I guess. I don't know, but like we'll never find out. But that must be one hell of a story.
I feel like that's like a story of the year contender. Like if anyone is able to like get that scoop, because it seemed because Sean Layden's working at Tencent now, so it's not like he retired. He had a very cushy job at PlayStation, so it tells me that there was some like internal arguments in that regard. I mean, Benji, you referenced Connie Booth and your opening monologue, I guess. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Oh, I definitely do. This is I mean the Sean Lane thing was the first thing I thought of when this kind of broke. It's just so weird that like what is going on at PlayStation? Like I don't want to sound over dramatic, but it is such a weird thing where it's like people are leaving and they're not like they're being cagey about it. They're not really saying anything. And then you add this with Jim Ryan retiring, with everything going on with the Last of Us factions, and their kind of pivot, and there's no games, like there's no game schedule. It's like, I think, and I don't want to doom and gloom, but I think the more interesting kind of question is how much like, I think the proper word would be like inertia. Like how much or momentum. Like how much momentum does Sony and PlayStation really have to survive this? Because with Layden, everyone was like, "Oh, this is like, no one really liked Jim Ryan when he first got promoted, and he never really like won anyone over, and it didn't matter because Sony still sold a shit ton of games, a shit ton of PlayStation 4s, a shit ton of PlayStation 5s, and you know, with the Last of Us news and the Jim Ryan retiring and then Connie Booth leaving, it's like, okay, that, you know, are we going to see a dip, or is the momentum with PlayStation just so incredibly strong that it doesn't matter what happens, they can survive? And I wonder where the tipping point is, because I think that's like the most, like, I don't know, not frustrating thing, but it's like I definitely don't agree with a lot of PlayStation decisions over the years, and like part of me kind of wants it to bite them in the ass just one time so they can maybe reevaluate and be a bit of a better company for me as a consumer,
Keep
and it
praying,
hasn't.
man.
What was
I've
that?
been a Sony fan. I'm saying keep praying because like I've been a PlayStation fan since like the PS3, the PS2 even. They're never gonna learn.
Right,
I want them to
and
do it, man.
and I feel
They
like
need a PS3 situation.
exactly, and it's like they never have those situations, and it's like, is there a, you know, now that Xbox is getting their shit together, is that kind of breaking point or tipping point potentially on the rise? I mean, you know, it, and not to, again, not to over exaggerate, because let's face it, we've been saying Xbox is going to finally compete with PlayStation for like 6 years now, and it's still not happening. But
Every time.
like, that's my biggest takeaway from this story is like, is the PlayStation brand momentum just so strong that it just doesn't matter what they do or who leaves or who they fire or what decisions they make? It's never gonna stop. And it's like, that would be crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's just a weird situation. Like you said, they have so much momentum. They have so much goodwill with the consumers. I mean, even I feel like just like not talking about this story because man, Spider-Man 2 is so good. It's like that's kind of the way they want to position a lot of these crazy bad news is that like, hey, we still make the best games out there. It's like I definitely agree they make some of the best games out there, but like it is really worrying when we have all these live service games coming out. And this also kind of tells me that there was some issues with Jim Ryan at this point because like I'm starting to think he didn't retire either. I'm starting to think he very much was there was some friction at the company and he just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, I always
Go ahead.
thought that citing the like traveling stuff, it's like, really? Like, I mean, no offense. I'm
Yeah.
sure it sucked. I'm sure jet lag sucks, but it's like, really? Is that what you're
It's like that's
planting
it's
your
like
flag on?
you're the CEO of Sony, but like the thing you're stopped at is like, man, traveling is hard.
Also, like, it's just kind of funny because it's like he didn't even show up to the, you know, the FTC court hearing. So it's like, clearly when he didn't need to travel, he did it. So, but you know, I digress. Yeah, I just, yeah, because there's no, like, we still don't know what the future lineup is for Sony. And it's like, look at Nintendo. They had a dark period with the Wii U, a really dark
And
period.
they
It's
bounce
like,
back.
yeah, it's like Xbox and Nintendo has had their dark period, and it's been a while for Sony. So it's like, is this really a cyclical cycle? And they're like finally hitting their kind of peak, and they're gonna start to decline a little bit. I don't know.
Well, the big thing is like even when they have failures, they could bounce back super easily. Look at the Vita. Look at PlayStation VR 2. Both consoles, let's be honest, did not do well. Sony's like, okay, well, we don't care. We're selling enough PS5s. We're selling enough PS4s to where like the Vita, we could just drop that like it's nothing. And same with the like they're not gonna try to improve or save the Vita, save the VR2. Just gonna like support it enough so people think that we still do care about these things, even though in general, let's be honest, they don't.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, those are peripherals, so it's like it's not a Wii U or Xbox One
The Vita
situation.
was like Vita's a handheld, like
I
on the
know, but
level.
it's still
Yeah.
not their main thing, so I think they can get away with that. Also, you just remind me that PSVR 2 launched this year. Holy shit.
Yep.
Wow, it really did, didn't it?
Holy
And
shit.
I remember because man, I remember when that thing came out and nobody talked about it. That shit was overpriced.
I
It's a
mean,
tough
that
situation.
was the rumor was the PSVR 2 was more of a Sony initiative forced onto PlayStation as well. So
Interesting. How about that Portal, huh?
Wait, did they launch
Oh,
already?
man.
No,
No,
it's
yeah.
coming
It's
though.
in November.
It's coming, and no one's gonna talk about it.
Oh man.
The future of Sony. Very exciting. Moving on. Something else kind of Sony related. This comes from Tom Ivan over at VGC. Games industry mergers and acquisitions expected to increase steadily over the next year. Sony, Take-Two, Tencent, and Savvy Scopely predicted to be the most active deal makers. Following a relatively quiet third quarter, games industry investments and deals are expected to rise steadily over the next 12 months. That's the opinion of Michael Metzger, a partner at tech mergers and acquisitions investment bank Drakestar. As reported by Axios, Drakestar tracked 33 mergers and acquisition deals worth some $5 billion between July and September. By volume, the figure was a two-year low, but the value of the deals exceeded those made in 3 of the previous 5 quarters. Drakestar also tracked almost $1 billion in private investment in the games industry during the third quarter, which was up from the previous 3 months. Based on our discussions with many of the top gaming companies in the last weeks, we expected the deal volume to increase steadily over the next year, Metzger told Axios. He expects Sony, Take-Two, Tencent, and Savvy Scopely to be the most active buyers next year, and Embracer Group, friend of the show, to sell some studios. I'm going to ask right off the top. I mean, this was very much kind of a discussion that we were talking about quite a lot of Sony's response to the Activision deal, what they can do, what mergers and acquisitions they can try to get into. It seems like investors, a lot of people are, industry analysts are very much of the opinion that Sony's going to try to attempt something. I'll ask right off the top, like, how do we feel about this news story?
Who knows what they're gonna do?
I mean, yeah, people are
People
just
think we
gonna.
have no clue what the fuck they're gonna do at the end of the day. Especially with acquisitions, nobody knows anything until like an hour before. So who really knows? We don't even know who's selling or who wants to get picked up by Sony or anyone like that at the moment either.
I mean, yeah, a lot of people definitely want to get bought, and the Embracer stuff is gonna. I think over the next year we're really gonna see the consequence of that like $2 billion deal not going through, and I think it's gonna get ugly very fast.
Embracer Group is definitely selling some studios. I'll say that right off the bat. That's the one thing I'm very much in 100% agreement with. It's clear Embracer Group is struggling because we were all like, "Hey guys, it's like Embracer Group. They're buying all these studios and IPs. It's like they must got a big plan." It turns out they didn't even have any plan, and things are. I listened to Jeff Grubb's podcast, a friend of the show, and he very much is of the viewpoint that what we thought was bad, it's like way worse over at Embracer than we think. And I'm interested to see what they're going to be doing in the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone kind of assumed that after like the Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard King, would be another kind of usher in a new wave of acquisitions. So this isn't necessarily like surprising, and yeah, I think Dark's right. No one knows anything, and I think it would be really. I think what's really weird is that the tech industry had a lot of layoffs this year, and the economy just in general, like interest rates keep going up. Like we're not in a great like spending market at the moment. So I understand it's a little bit different for businesses, especially because, for like someone like Sony, they need to stay competitive with Microsoft, or they at least feel like they need to stay competitive with acquisitions. But I don't like I don't know. Obviously, there's going to be some that happen, especially with people like Embracer, and like I feel like didn't wasn't there news about a couple weeks ago like Disney was like looking to maybe acquire a studio,
Yeah, EA.
or like a
They
publisher.
Wanted to like
they
just
were urging
yeah,
Bob Iger to buy EA.
investors were like, why don't we just buy a studio to make games for us?
Right. So it's like those things are definitely still possible. I just don't think it's going to necessarily be like the headline mergers and acquisitions expected to increase. I don't know like how big really. If it's, I think by increase it's like one more than maybe this year or last year. Like I don't think it's going to be that much personally.
Agreed. It's going to be interesting. Definitely something to be on the lookout for. Next news story. This comes from Okami Games. The full schedule for BlizzCon 2023 has been revealed. Fans are speculating Blizzard could reveal their upcoming survival game, reportedly called Odyssey, during the opening ceremony, which comes in at a whopping 2.5 hours. I could read off the schedule. I think very much you could just look it up I don't want to say look it up yourself. that's
Look
a
it up
rude way of saying
yourself.
it. But like, it's a lot of like panel. I guess like I want to ask like what do we expect from BlizzCon? We have an Overwatch 2. What's next on November 4? That's real exciting.
Overwatch 3.
I mean, I think you're just gonna get an update on all the Blizzard stuff. I think you could get the first announcement of like the first Diablo 4 expansion and what's gonna go on there. I mean, it's just Blizzard has a lot of games that get updated all the time, and those like the major versions, not like the small patch updates, are you're gonna hear from at BlizzCon. So expansion worthy stuff for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wonder if if any, I doubt anything changes now that they're officially under Xbox. But I do wonder like if maybe they don't announce something here because they'll save it for next year's showcase, or if they're even doing a showcase. Like I do wonder if that kind of changes things. Now, granted, what was it? Bethesda still did stuff for QuakeCon, so I guess that's not exactly, a very good theory, but it's a potential. And then as far as Overwatch 2, I think they're gonna, announce end of life.
They're gonna add the single player after all this time. They said, guys, we were just kidding. We were making it the whole time.
Actually, that reminds me, I
Cool.
need to listen to that K-pop collab.
Said
Something
that
about
live on the air.
If they
Something
announce
Hey man,
anything
hey
new,
listen, I hate League of Legends, but KDA goes hard. All right.
something about Microsoft is they've kind of like let these companies they've acquired continue their own events, which honestly I think more hurts than helps them. I think having the quarterly direct style for first party could honestly be a big benefit for them. And I do think it's something they should look into instead of like BlizzCon focusing more of on the fan events and getting into the nitty-gritty details of all these games, but like the big expansion worthy stuff being at like quarterly events they put on, because I think overall they have the content to do that now. I just think they need to do it.
I will
think
push
if
back a
anything,
little bit and say that, like, while that does kind of make sense, I think that would also be bad PR for Microsoft because it will go back to this big company's changing the way we're doing things, even though Blizzard was obviously a huge company even before they acquired them. But it's like, I don't think that would be good PR for Microsoft to be like, yeah, your like fan event that you've done for like 10 or 20 or however many years, yeah, it's done. Or it's not going to be as cool anymore because now we own the company. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily a great play for them.
It's gonna be
the only
interesting.
change we'll probably see is that if the new game or whatever gets announced, is it going to be? It's on Game Pass too, by the way. That's all they're going to add, if anything.
I don't think they would announce it that early. That's the thing. I think the survival
get a
game is
teaser.
probably a few ways off. Yeah, I think you'll get some type of trailer. It is what Okami Game said that the opening half hours does kind of tell me that it may very well get more of a deep dive than we're expecting.
I feel like those opening
it-
ceremonies are always really long, though, for BlizzCon, if I remember correctly.
I could try to figure out how long they are.
It's not worth it, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that they're always kind of long and full of just a bunch of stuff. So I don't know if that necessarily kind of dictates anything.
I will say, so the 2019 opening ceremony, which I think was the last in-person one before this one, that was almost 2 hours, but that was also the reveal of Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4. So that kind of tells me that there's gonna be some type of reveal here.
Interesting.
I'm gonna have to wait and see. That is next week, November 3rd and 4th. So we'll be talking about it on the podcast. But that's everything for the news. We do have a topic, a very fun one. We kind of want to talk about franchises that we feel need a reboot. whether games that we feel have gotten stale that we think need some type of change, or just games that have been long dormant that we just want to see come back. We all got some interesting ones, but I gotta go first. Listen, guys, you guys know me. I'm a Sony pony. Give me my Jack 4. I want my Jack and Daxter to come back. That's the only franchise I want back. And God knows, Naughty Dog ain't doing that shit. God knows they are not touching that franchise again. They're stuck with Last of Us. You know what? Fusion's not here. For the worse, I don't want them to do Last of Us. I want them to go back. Actually, I don't want Naughty Dog to come back. They're a different studio. But like, I want some studio. I think an Insomniac would be great fit for the P. It is genuinely one of my all-time favorite franchises. It's a game. It's a franchise I go back to all the time. I think they are solid 3D platform. Not even solid. I fuck platformers. I'm completely biased. I grew up with them, but like they go from like a 3D platformer with the first game and then go straight up GTA with 2 and 3. And I think all three games are phenomenal. Daxter on the PSP is amazing. The last Jack and Daxter game was in 2009. Jack and Daxter: The Lost Frontier. That was done by High Impact Games. Horrible game. That is not a very good game at all. And it kind of tells me that Sony was just like, okay, well, this IP is kind of just whatever now, which is unfortunate because I do want. I think Sony could use some more variety. I want them to do more interesting 3D platformers like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I want stuff like that, and I think Jack and Daxter would just be the perfect fit in that regards. And I want them to come back. I miss them. I miss them, man. I want to see
Jack
them.
a sad dad.
Anything, I'll take anything. Just fucking bring him back in some way. At the very least, a remake of the original games. Go ahead, Bob.
Do you know what studio I feel like could do it?
So,
Is
yeah.
Sumo?
No. After Little Big Planet 3, I don't trust them anymore.
Well, what didn't people like Sackboy's Adventure?
Yeah, that was a good game, but I was just mad about Little Big Planet 3. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
like
true.
I feel like as far as fit goes, that I feel like is the closest out of their studios.
Insomniac, but I mean, they're busy.
No, they do. No, they do too much. Do not weigh them down
Let's
even
throw
more.
another IP on.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
I mean, I just want some variety out of Sony. I love my sad dad games, but like, give me something else. Like that's why I like Spider-Man so much. Like different. It's like, okay, do some more variety. Like we could use some more outside of the sad dad genre. I'm gonna go to Benzer.
We need the resurrection of Mario and Luigi, the RPG series, as we had the tragic death and bankruptcy of Alpha Dream a couple years ago that Nintendo should have never let happen, as they created the best side game for Mario, and I just think it's a crime that we're getting the remake, but hopefully they go somewhere after that and continue making new games. It's a sign of hope for sure. But we must get new games in the Mario and Luigi series, as it's a crime that we haven't in several years.
Mario and Luigi is an interesting franchise. I tried to play Superstar Saga. I couldn't really get into it. When it comes to Mario RPGs, I'm more of a Paper Mario guy. And I'm also a big Super Mario RPG fan. I'm really excited to play it for the first time. But it is an interesting franchise that I do agree. Nintendo just Alpha Dream was like, "Yo, we're going bankrupt," and Nintendo was like, "Y'all hear something?" So that situation was pretty unfortunate. I don't think Alpha Dream comes back, and it kind of just comes down to like who's gonna make it then, and that's where it's like, I don't know who can make it.
I mean, who's making the Mario RPG series?
Mario RPG remake? I can check real quick.
That?
I think that's Square Enix actually. But I might be
sure.
wrong.
We'll know when the game comes out.
It's Square Enix. Seems to be
we'll just have them make it another Mario RPG. Obviously, there's some fire there. Yeah, just give that in their hands, because if you have the team that does this, and you do have the Square Enix teams like Team Asano, well, they wouldn't the smaller teams that kind of handle the more niche JRPGs. Have someone like them handle a Mario and Luigi game. You never know.
Intelligent Systems, does Paper Mario, they could always go and do Mario and Luigi. Paper
Yeah,
Mario,
there's
I wish that franchise was a little better, but still,
hey,
after those
hey,
first two,
there's hope. Like there is for Mario and Luigi, there's hope for Paper Mario now.
the near door, man. I'm counting down the days.
Yep.
Bob,
We don't know if the
yeah,
days,
go
but
ahead.
no matter what, no matter what.
No matter what, Bob, I want to go to you. You said you have a lot of stuff for this topic, so I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I'm an overachiever. Mostly just because I didn't really have a real something I'm really passionate about answer for any of these. So I just kind of shotgun blasted a few out, but we'll start with one. This is probably the one I'm most passionate about. Bring back DJ Hero, but
DJ Hero.
no. Wait, hear me out.
I'm hearing it out.
Instead of like the turntables, you make it more like kind of the house EDM tables with all of the like different little like square buttons and all the little dials and stuff. Like obviously you'd have to dumb it down a little bit for the games, but I feel like that is like there are so many people who like electronic or house or EDM music that have tried like buying like actual DJ boards or mixer boards. And I feel like that is like, and there's plenty of music to choose from to like license that stuff out. I feel like that could legitimately be a winner if they ever tried to go down that road. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Real quick on DJ Hero, like, do you think they would do that before Guitar Hero though?
Probably not. But I think again, this is more like hopes and dreams kind of thing where it's like I would absolutely adore that because I'm definitely one of those people who have thought about getting a mixer board and but I'm just not like I don't have enough time for that. But I think that'd be a really, really cool way because I always heard great things about DJ Hero.
Wait, you've never played it?
DJ Hero? No.
Oh my god, bro. That is yeah, my dream game is DJ Hero. I've never played it, but I want a new one.
But I was also like a kid and like it was hard enough to convince my mom to get Guitar Hero, let alone another $150 peripheral or whatever. Like it was always so exorbitantly priced. But I like the idea of DJ Hero, and I love Guitar Hero, so it's like do that in a new genre that hasn't been done before. I think that'd be really, really cool. Other nominations that I feel passionate about, I guess this is in order of passion. Technically, this one doesn't count because there was a game that released for it this year, but I just kind of like no offense to Mike Bithell, but the Tron games. I'm sure Tron Identity is great, but like a novel game, like I'm sorry, that's not really like what I'm looking for in a Tron game. It's crazy to me. Like Tron is one of my favorite movies, and I feel like outside of the old arcade game, they've tried a couple times to make a video game, and they haven't really nailed it. And it's like the irony of a movie based on a video game or like kind of the video game world, and there isn't a good video game, like that's crazy to me. So yeah, I would definitely
game, cool.
No, yeah, and it's great. But it's like I don't know why. No, like I imagine like Ghost Runner. Like the Ghost Runner devs make a Tron, like more Tron style, because they already got the bikes. They got like you just change the sword out for like the little disc. Oh my god, that would rule. So yeah, that's my petition. Ghost Runner devs, you've made 2 Ghost Runners, great. Get the Tron IP.
Stop making your own games. Do something that I want.
Yep. And then Earthbound / Mother. I think this is.
Oh, this is a passionate series for you?
Yeah, I actually have played Earthbound, unlike some of our Super Mario RPG fans.
Okay,
I have not played Mother 3, So I guess I haven't played the latest one, but I really do like Earthbound, and like it is a cult classic for a reason. And it's crazy to me that that is one where it's like, how have they not made another one?
So I will say my counter argument with Earthbound, I think it's more important that just get Mother 3 translated, because the big thing, the creator of Earthbound and Mother 3 and everything, he very much outright says it's like, yeah, my story's finished.
Oh,
Like
well.
this story is done. And that's why I don't think we'll ever get another one. I think it's just very much like, just get Mother 3 translated already.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll concede that. And I haven't played it, so yeah, I don't know the story yet. So
I know the ending. It's
that's
actually
fair.
it's a really cool ending. So
Okay.
it very much like it works.
I should get around to that. And then number 4, Titanfall 3. Not really much to say there.
No,
Yeah.
that's everyone. Fusion is shouting. He's moving right now. He's shouting from his car Titanfall 3 at us right now. I know that's all he could think about. Damn. There was that teases or it's Titanfall. Turns out it was just
Oh
an
my
Apex
god,
Legends
yeah.
character.
Yep.
Yeah, I was able to squeeze one out of my head. So the franchise I will always pioneer, can we please get a new one from Nintendo, is Custom Robo. That's game on the GameCube. The one on the GameCube was like the definition of my parents bought a random ass video game because they saw a cool robot on the front and he was like, oh, he'd like that. And they bought it for me for my birthday and I played the hell out of it. It was my first introduction to like a full-fledged like story RPG that wasn't Pokemon. So I have a lot to thank for that game. And it was just really fun combat, at least from what I remember. I don't know if it still holds up today, but just the idea of this little arena shooter where you customize your robots with various different parts and play styles because of that, almost like Armored Core in a way. It's like baby's first Armored Core. But having like a cool, like futuristic RPG story to go along with it, you're this rookie cop and you have to learn from your superiors and you fight off this evil organization all while going into a virtual world to physically fight them. It's actually really funny when you think about it. It's like, yeah, you have all these thugs, but you do all your battling like in like a virtual helmet kind of thing. It's just fighting with robots. And it's goofy, but that's what like it's a very like Saturday morning cartoon kind of RPG in a way. So if you haven't played it yet, I would highly recommend it. But I would
It
say
looks a fun game.
it really was, and I'd say take another crack at it. Give it like the big budget RPG treatment. Give like another like Saturday morning cartoon vibe to it. You could probably have something on your hands, Nintendo.
Was it? I remember. Wasn't that a Capcom IP, or am I
I don't
getting that confused?
know.
I can check real quick.
I'm gonna check right now.
Apparently, it's had 5 games. This is an actual franchise.
Yeah, and the only one that I care about is the one on the GameCube because everything else was like, because I know the original was like on the NES or something like that.
So this was done by Noise, and they made the custom Robo games and nothing else. they don't seem to be very active nowadays. I think the last game they made was Gyro Zetter Wings of the Albatross in June 13th, 2013.
Oh yeah, very active company.
But yeah, I mean, Nintendo could probably find a in-house studio to do it.
Wow, it did not review while looking at this.
Critics don't know anything. I'm gonna run through a few that I really want to come back. A lot of these are PlayStation. Kitty Tom, PlayStation fanboy. Another big one, Sly Cooper. As you can tell, I grew up with the PlayStation trio of Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and Sly Cooper. Jak and Daxter dead, Sly Cooper dead. We still got Ratchet, so that's something, guys. I love the Sly Cooper games. I think they're really fun stealth action platformer games. I think Sly 3 is my personal favorite. I know a lot of people like Sly 2 the most, but 3 is just the one that I connected with the most. Sly, it did have a reboot with Sanzar Games. They made Thieves in Time. I think it's a good game. A lot of people don't like it. I think it's a great game. Maybe not as good as the original trilogy, but still one that I'm a big fan of. This was a Sucker Punch game, by the way, the guys who did Ghost of Tsushima. And it's very much one of those things where it's like, I know for a fact we're probably not going to get another Sly Cooper anytime soon because Sanzaru is owned by Facebook now, or Meta, and Sucker Punch they're very much not stuck with. They're doing Ghost of Tsushima, so I don't expect it. This is another one where it's like which studio would do it. I don't know. I want it more than anything. I don't know if we'll ever get it. And then speaking of Sucker Punch, another one is Infamous. I recently played through those games for the first time last year and fucking adored them. I think they are some of my favorite PlayStation 3 exclusive now. Infamous 1 is one of my favorite games of all time now. And I think Sucker Punch is just they're just an extremely top. And I don't know if we'll ever get another Infamous because Second Son, I didn't really care for that one as much. But Sucker Punch in general is just such a talented developer, and I think what they're doing with Ghost of Tsushima is great. So like, I'm not too upset about it because like they're off doing like it's not like with Naughty Dog where I'm like I don't care about Last of Us that much, but with Ghost of Tsushima, like was my game of the year that year. I think they're a great company, so yeah, that's something. Couple others, I gotta give a shout out. PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale.
Hell yeah!
I'm just saying, guys. We can make it work. All right, we fucked up, but if we get an actual competent game studio to do the sequel, I think we can get a good PlayStation All-Star sequel. Wow. Okay. Rough
Just
crowd
give it
here.
to just give it
I mean,
to
I
the
agree.
Bandai Namco.
Honestly, I agree. Bandai Namco would be a good developer to do it. It's third-party deal in that regard. Man, I don't know. Like to me, it's just like just make Smash. Like don't even like go like, oh, this is our spin. Like no, just do copy paste Smash. Like that's all I want. Smash Brothers with PlayStation characters. And then that's everything in regards to PlayStation. Other franchise I really want is from Nintendo, Punch Out. One of my favorite Nintendo franchises, and one that is never coming back. Like the only studio that could do it was Next Level because they did the reboot in 2009. I love that game. Next Level Games is very much busy with IDG's Mansion, which hey, you know, a shout out to them. That's a great franchise. I would love if they make a new Punch Out game. I don't see it anytime soon, but like that's like the dream announcement from Nintendo. Like everyone's like, "Oh man, I want Twilight Princess HD." I'm like, "Bro, I want a new Punch Out game." Like, yeah, I don't want to play the old games. Like, give me a new Punch Out. That's all I want. I do want to actually bring up the topic. We kind of talked about off the top, like almost franchises that feel old, or not old, but franchises that we feel like Assassin's Creed, maybe like almost tired after a while. I'm gonna bring one up. Bop and Moon, you're the big Pokemon guys. I'm gonna ask you guys: does Pokemon need some type of reboot?
No, I was actually thinking about this when you decided on the topic earlier today. It's like Pokemon did have the revamp that it sorely needed. The problem is they're just horrible developers at making this new, at the new style. So, but like the initial idea of what they did with Scarlet and Violet is what this franchise needed, and even like Legends Arceus to an extent, it is what Pokemon needed and desperately and is good on paper. The problem is they just developed it poorly. So once they can get that out of the way, then Pokemon will be exactly what it needs to be now.
Yeah, that's exactly my like. Legitimately, when I saw that question, I was like, "Oh, Pokemon, obviously," and I was like, "Wait, no, Arceus is exactly the spin-off or like fresh idea that I wanted. Like you being more of a professor and like researching Pokemon and like not really battling as much as you are catching and kind of learning these species for the first time. Like that they kind of already did that, but yet." I would echo everything Moon would say, and then add on top of that, it would be also very Game Freak of them to never make another one of those. Because they've already done that with so many of these, and it's going to piss me off. So it's like, we never saw another Let's Go game, so it's like, why? I like almost don't want to get my hopes up for a Legends, like a Legends Part 2, because I feel like
Legends
it's not going to happen. Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Where we finally see the original dragon, because that still has never been shown off before. Legends Unima could be it.
Could be, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
Never get your hopes up with Pokemon. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other franchises like that where it's like long running and you're kind of getting tired? Like you want some type of change up? I'll say mine. Far Cry. Far Cry is starting to get tiring. Those Far Cry 7 leaks about like kind of your family being captured and you're like slowly trying. That could be it. That could be what gets me back in. But like Far Cry was the one Ubisoft franchise I was into. 6 was just not it for me. I feel like Far Cry 7 is almost like the make or break for the whole franchise for me. I hope they can nail it. Moon, you're a big Far Cry guy. Do you agree with that statement?
In a way, yeah, because granted, I'm someone who's coming in at I played 5 and I'm like, wow, this is a really cool game. And I couldn't get into 4 for whatever reason. I've started like 3 times. Then I played 6. I'm like, yeah, this is fun, but it's just I preferred 5, so I don't know if
Yeah.
6 just wasn't good or if it was just like it's more of the
wasn't.
same. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between was it just bad or was it just it's more of the same, but I wanted something different. It's hard to differentiate the two in
6
this
just
regard.
wasn't very good.
So I mean, it was
like
fine for what it is, but yeah. But so hopefully 7 changing up the formula just a little bit would be nice. I'm not interested in whatever this live service aspect that they're trying to push, if that's true.
The extraction shooter. What was
Yeah.
it? Like something like that? Oh god.
No, just give me a big open, interesting world to just run around and do missions and whatnot.
I will
Exactly.
also just add in that didn't people say that about like people were getting tired of the formula after 4, and then 5 was that kind of breath of fresh air because they kind of went a different direction with the story, and it kind of was like, oh, this is kind of a different spin on it. And I remember when I played 5, because just like Moon, that's the only one I've actually played, and I 100%, I really did like it. But
It's a great
I
game.
remember climbing the first radio tower, and they literally make like a joke being like, yeah, I bet you've never done this before or something. So
Like,
they've
okay, guys.
they've been very self-aware of how stale that formula is. But yeah, I think it's like you really do. That's a franchise where if you are going to do the same thing, like gameplay wise, like it better be a good story, or otherwise people are going to be like, I'm sick of this.
Any other franchises y'all want to shout out? Before we leave
I
this.
thought I had another one.
I got 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay, go ahead. Mine's more.
Yeah,
more
I'll let
second.
you.
Go
I'll let
ahead.
you stew on that a little bit more. What was that, Dark?
I have like 4 franchises. I never got called
Oh,
on.
you go
Oh,
ahead.
oh, my bad. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so the first one I want to see is Viva Pinata. I grew up on this franchise.
Ooh, that is a good pick.
I don't know, like there's nothing crazy about the game, so it's just something fun to play in the free time. Second one, I want to see Peggle come back. I don't know if how many of you guys played
Yep,
Peggle.
that's another good one.
Yeah,
Fuck
Peggle's
yes!
good.
Yep,
Peggle's
yep,
good.
yep,
Need it.
yep.
This one is more of like a personal one. Oh, the last two are my personal ones. I want Xenogears to get an actual release that's not from Square Enix. I want Monolithsoft to handle it because that game was ahead of its time,
That is
and they couldn't handle it properly to the point where like
the ending wasn't done. I remember that one.
it's not even the ending. It's half the game. Isn't that half the game is the main character sitting in a chair and walls of text are appearing. It's the craziest shit. So they should give it to Monolithsoft because they have Takahashi and they have the team who does Xenoblade, so they know how to handle it. And to put it into perspective, Xenogears was the original Final Fantasy VII. It's a very similar situation to like RE4 and Devil May Cry. It's the same situation. There's a lot of good stuff with that IP. And the last one I want to see get rebooted is Gears of War. After
Interesting.
4 was
Reboot?
okay.
Gears of War could be
Yeah, I want
interesting,
a
but
reboot after 6. Because they
Oh, you okay?
I don't
So
think-
after 6. You
I mean,
want
yeah, the
6
6 is well, you can't stop the 6 is already being made right now.
Yeah, they've already gone too far with
okay.
it.
Gotcha.
4 was okay. It was like exciting time, but then I started to realize is that the way that it works and like, with the engagement and everything, the story that they're trying to go with just doesn't work. So they have all these new characters, and yeah, they're okay for the most part. But when they started introducing the older characters again, like in the multiplayer and stuff, that's when engagement for it rose. I'm like, okay, but maybe that was just a 4 thing. You go to 5, it's the same situation, and then 5 is littered with like, in my opinion, a bunch of campaign problems, where the story is kind of like, I feel like they murdered a lot of the characters, like how they were character-wise and personality-wise for that game. So I know 6 is like probably already done or whatever the fuck is going on with that game. Put out 6 and then reboot it fresh with the old characters, and then stick with the Locust and the cogs. That's what works. I don't think this one worked out that well for them.
Interesting.
I think to the topic too. I mean, tactics was a kind of different take on the series, do you think they would ever make a Tactics 2?
I like
No
Tactics
way.
personally. I hope they do. Or that's another thing. With Minecraft, they've been taking the game, making different genres of it. I would love to see that with Gears of War too. I know they're kind of messing around with it in Halo a little bit as well. That'd be something really cool to see.
Yeah.
I would love a Minecraft RPG. That sounds like really fun.
It's one of those things. I feel like
they might do it too.
I like you said with Halo, I think they really do need to utilize those IPs at Xbox more for like more flexible, because like I feel like Halo's a flexible IP. Do stuff like Halo Wars and whatnot. But yeah, it is interesting what you say about Gears of War. Like after Gears 6, go ahead and do a full reboot, because I feel like a lot of like Gears purists are not into this new trilogy that they're doing here. Meanwhile, a lot of people seem to really be into them, and I never know, like, do people like these games or not? I could never get a straight answer.
Gameplay is fine. I like the gameplay. They can add more to it, because I don't know, it's almost been like 2.5 years since they stopped adding stuff for Gears of War 4. I might be wrong with the date. It's been a hot minute since they stopped adding stuff for Gears of War 5. I mean, like a new content.
Yeah, wasn't Hive Busters like the last like main thing?
Yeah.
That was like
When did that come
2020.
out? Yeah, it's been a hot minute. Gears fans are.
It was around the launch of the Series X, I want to say.
So the gameplay wise is fine. They know what they're doing. I think it's just the story and tone of everything. There's something about the cog and locus that just works. You can look at the engagement of when those characters come into the game versus when they're out. It's just a big difference. Especially when you're playing it, you can see this. Like not having the metrics in front of me makes it sound hot at first. But yeah, that's just my opinion on what they should do. Bring back all of Delta Squad, young again, have a new story.
Yeah, interesting. And apologies for not calling on you earlier. Like, it was just a full brain fart. It's on me. Bob, you said you had a couple more.
Yes, going back to Nintendo, I got one that I'm like more passionate about, and then one that like I think I kind of want to hear what everyone would have to say about it. So, first one is Mario Party. And what I mean by that is they need to bring back fucking over your friends. These newer games are too nice, they're too cute. It's bullshit, all right?
Did you play
Like,
Superstars?
Superstars,
yeah,
is
and
kind of back to the
Superstars,
bullshit.
Superstars, yeah, because they are using the old maps and like the old systems, and I feel like that was, which was great.
You want a
And
new game that do that.
I want a new game where it's like I need new fuck over my friend mechanics is basically what I'm saying. Like I don't want like, because I like 8, but I feel like after 6 it was just like they started treading, they just got too soft and too like
we don't want
kid friendly.
They got all in a car together.
Yeah, it's like
Remember that?
yeah, it's just, yeah, 9 is just the worst game. But yeah, I just
That is the first game I ever bought day one was Mario Party 9.
oh my god.
I'm surprised
Wait,
still
you
game
bought
it.
it day 1? Did you like have friends you were gonna play it with day 1?
I don't want to talk about it. I played it
Okay,
solo.
yeah, because that's just a weird one to buy day 1.
Okay, 'cause as a kid, I was like 9 years old when that game came out. I was like, "Whoa, Mario Party! I like Mario." That's it. I didn't even play a Mario Party. I think I played Mario Party DS before that, but I'm like, I like Mario. I will love this one, and I
so
fucking
funny.
loved it, bro.
So
I was 9 years old. I love that shit. But yeah.
Yeah, so
Only
Mario
thing I wanna
Party
see-
bring, was that Dark?
Oh, you can go. Oh, as I said, the only thing I wanted to see get added to both Mario Party and Mario Kart is just add more Nintendo's other IP characters. Like I know in Mario Kart they added Link.
Yeah.
I feel like you have a whole plethora of other characters you can add.
You just
make it
want to
like
smashify everything.
I just want more.
I'd be okay with that.
That's the only thing I hope. I don't really have a race to say in the
Yeah, I
Mario Party
mean,
war.
like WarioWare already kind of does that, where they kind of will take other IPs and kind of like gamify them for like their little mini games. I mean, honestly, I would be totally okay with Mario Party if they did that too. Like that'd be great. And then for my second one, I'm kind of talking out of my ass here a little bit, so I'm curious if anyone
Love it when you
else
do that.
has opinions on this. But Fire Emblem.
Whoa, whoa,
Wait,
Okay,
what about
you have my
okay.
attention.
Hear me out, because I played Three Houses, and that's honestly the only one I've ever played. So this is where I'm talking out of my ass, because I really I'm not like the most familiar with the
They
series.
should reboot Mario Kart. I don't like Mario Kart. Just make it like a fighting game now.
No. Hear me out. I'm not
yeah,
asking to really change it that much. I'm just saying, like, looking at Baldur's Gate 3, like,
No.
what if they really took the time to like go harder into the, like, not necessarily the battle mechanics, but like the life
Overworld?
sim, overworld mechanics, and really make it like that more
More?
like they go even harder into like the RPG.
Like actually live in the land.
I mean,
Yeah.
like you
Three
look at
houses do that.
honestly, Unicorn Overlord kind of looks like what you're describing, doesn't it?
Oh, we haven't seen
I'm
anything
gonna
on
be
the
honest,
overworld.
I don't know about
Don't
that.
know what you're talking about.
The game in the direct, Vanillaware.
No, I know. I just can't, like, honestly, I can't put a
It's
a
okay.
face
I
to
get
it, but
Paper Mario was the only thing that I remember.
yeah, I mean, and that's why, like, I'm not really passionate about this take, and I had a feeling you guys would have opinions on it, but that is a franchise where it's like, especially after the lukewarm reception to Engage, I totally think that it's one of those franchises where they, that was more of a blip, and I'm sure the next one, if they do it and don't change anything and just make a slightly better story, like, it'll be great. But I almost wonder if it's worth for them going a little bit harder on the next one and making it closer to like a Baldur's Gate kind of game.
I mean, I would definitely be up for it, because like that kind of stuff that I saw from Baldur's Gate looked really cool, and doing that in a Fire Emblem like setting, and like running a war, and not a war, but like in running an army, because you tend to always do that in Fire Emblem games. That could be actually really interesting, because there is the comparison to be made, because there is that whole turn-based tactics strategy part of it.
Exactly. It's like, I don't think the gameplay would have to change that much, and that's not really what I'm wanting to change, but I feel like, when I
The
played
other
Three
stuff.
Houses, when I played Three Houses, I mean, it was still great, but a lot of it was just like, when you're in the overworld doing the life sim stuff, it's very much I'm looking at a 2D picture of someone talking with text, and it's like, I'm not asking for like full, mocap 3D modeling, but just kind of more so just like how you interact with the overworld in a Baldur's Gate versus a Fire Emblem, I think would maybe be the thing that like pushes that franchise to the next level.
That would be cool.
So,
I'm on board.
I think they might be able to pull something off like they did with Midnight Suns, because Midnight Suns also had a hub overworld where you can interact with the characters, and it was actually really well done. The only issue is that, well, if you can consider it issues, that you couldn't romance anyone, and it makes sense why Marvel wouldn't allow you to do that. But something like Fire Emblem, if they really full sent it like Persona-esque,
Yeah, if they're smart.
if they really did that full sent it, and it's actually a game and not an anniversary title like Engage was, I can see it working really well.
All right, I'm glad I had a smart idea.
You're a real big smart idea. Moon, did you have a couple?
Really, the only thing looking at my collection, and I'm just starting to realize I am very fortunate in the franchises that I do care about, do seem to be evolving well over time. Almost none of them need that kind of hard change, or none of them are really dormant. Like just look at the PlayStation mascots. I'm a Ratchet fan, and that one's still alive. And so it's like all my franchises I care about are either still alive or still thriving in some way. The only thing I'm just really looking at my collection here, the Destroy All Humans remakes were very lackluster because they held on to the old PlayStation 2 Xbox gameplay, which just doesn't jive well these days. Like the graphics were great and everything, but in updating that to be a more modern playing game and just the way you play the game in general, because it's just weird missions. It's hard to explain if you've never played them. But doing something with that franchise could be really fun. Just doing something else with that.
I think that's a good old fashioned Embracer Group IP though, so who knows when we'll get that. But I do agree that would be a fun.
Yeah,
IP
especially
to come
after
back.
I'm pretty sure I don't think the remake sold really well, so they might just think, let's not continue that franchise. There's clearly no interest in it.
Yo, what if they bring
One
back
last
Ninja Gaiden?
Ninja. Oh my god, I
That'd
would
be a good
love
one.
a new Ninja Gaiden.
Yo,
That's
Ninja
that's
Gaiden,
actually
give
one
it to
that they've
Capcom.
been talking about. This one, no, they've been talking about a new Ninja Gaiden. They
Oh,
very much have been teasing that very heavily.
actually, yeah, I have one more dormant franchise that needs to come back. I think Xbox needs to bring back Fusion Frenzy and actually make like a Mario Party competitor. Because okay, we don't talk about the second one; it doesn't actually exist. But the OG Fusion Frenzy, I swear to God, that thing still holds up. That is such a
That's true.
good party game with friends.
I'm gonna. This is kind of like how Bop was with Fire Emblem. I'm gonna pose an idea. God of War.
What about it
Maybe
though?
hear me out.
Dante's
Keep
Inferno.
the Sad Dad games. Have another studio or another division in Santa Monica do the old classic God of War games and make like a God of War 4 in that style. I don't know. I think it would be a cool idea because I really love those classic God of War games. God of War 2 is phenomenal. That's actually my favorite God of War game is the original God of War 2. And I would love if they like kind of did those games side by side. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I don't know. I think that's a cool idea.
This is what I was saying. You go to Phil Spencer and you tell him, make Dante's Inferno, because people want those old God of War style hack and slash games. And that's what Dante's Inferno was.
I think,
I
not to cut you off, I think, and if they do this
Right.
properly, the Darksiders team can probably handle that really well. Especially like 1 and 2. We don't talk about 3. But
Cerberus.
1 and 2 is really fucking good. I know
think
they're making
I play
4.
a little bit of 2.
However, well, like the way that the timeline works is so fucking weird. One takes place at the end of the timeline, and everything else like revolves around it. And the one's ending was so hyped that they set so much up for it. That 4 has a lot of expectations on it now, but it does play like God of War, like you was mentioning, like that. They have a lot of experience in it too.
That's a embrace, so hopefully they don't fold by the time Darksiders 4 comes out. But yeah, any last I will say Paper Mario. All I'll say, just make it an RPG again. That's all I want. But other than that, I think we're all good in terms of reboots, franchises we want to come back. All good.
Castlevania.
Yep.
I mean, Castlevania. I mean, we're getting a new one day. Eventually, they've been
Konami.
God bless you, Konami. God bless you. But yeah, I think that's everything in regards to our topic. Really fun topic. I will say, Benji Bup going like the one I'd be most passionate about is a game I've never played. It's gonna live in my head rent free.
No, it's not. But it's like okay, whatever, fine.
I get it. But we want to go on to what we've been playing. Moon, Bench, we all finished Spider-Man 2. I want to talk about that first.
I'm gonna deafen.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about spoilers or anything. That's going to be for our spoiler cast as soon as Fusion fucking beats that game. Jeez, slowpoke. I loved Spider-Man 2. I thought it was a phenomenal game. I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. Got the platinum and everything. Having said that, I think I slightly prefer 2018. It's tough. I think from a gameplay standpoint, 2 knocks it out of the park, but I really love the story to 2018. I don't know how you two feel.
I'd give it more on the lines of an 8.5. I
Oh,
think
lower.
the game.
Yeah, lower than me, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah, whenever I beat the game, I'd say around a 9, but I softened on it a little bit after a couple days after I beat it. And I think the game is great. Gameplay is great. Really good story. Like you, I think I prefer 2018 story in that the way that was told. But I think they did a lot of things better in this game, and it's weird, like nitpick. I think this game should have been longer. They needed more
100%.
time.
More
I
stuff
think,
to do
like,
in the world.
not even more stuff to do. I think the story, a lot of it fails to make its impact due to you not having enough attachment to what's going on due to like the quickness of
Agree.
the plot. I think adding like 5 more hours onto this game would have really helped it. Sure, that seems substantial, but I think adding a couple minutes here or there, 15 minutes here or there, just to build out the plot they were going for would have helped exponentially. Because when big things would happen, they would be cool, look cool, play cool, but I just wasn't as attached as I would have hoped I would have been.
I think I can semi-explain it because after thinking about it, I think I might agree to an extent. Because I think what helps the first game's story better is that because both games have a shitload of villains to deal with, but I think one flowed better from villain to villain. Like you went from Mr. Negative to the Sinister Six and then into Doc Ock. Whereas the Craven and Venom parts of it seem very disconnected from each other outside of like the one time it overlaps, and I won't say that because that's spoilers. But they feel very disconnected, and they're just there just to be there.
I
thought Craven was good, but I think Venom felt. I mean, the whole game was hyped up around Venom, and he kind of felt, to me, forced in the way he was implemented a little bit.
Okay, here's the thing. I think you're right. I am extraordinarily biased, so my viewpoint is like, yo, Venom! But like, I do agree. It definitely felt like Venom was like, okay, we want to do the symbiote storyline. We want to do Venom. I think they could have handled it better. Though I still think this is probably the best rendition of the symbiote storyline. Because I'll tell you guys right now, the symbiote storyline is not very good. Like most runs of Venom and like that's movies and like the Venom movies, which people keep trying to say are good movies. They're not good movies. I will say this is probably the best rendition of Venom. I don't know if that's saying much, but I do also have to agree. Craven, I think, is phenomenal as a villain. He went from a villain that I never cared about to one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. I genuinely thought he was great, but as Bench said, they do feel very disconnected. Which is something we can go very much into in spoilers cast. But go ahead, Moon.
I just said no. I said that.
Oh, my bad.
I wanted my credit.
Sorry.
I mean, so are we done with talking Spider-Man? Can we let Bob back in?
No, I guess just like to round it out though, like we're going to talk a lot more Spider-Man with the spoiler cast. I think this is a very, very solid game, and I'm waiting for that DLC.
Super good.
I'm waiting for that DLC. Next game
if you
want to talk about is Super Mario Wonder, a game I beat and Bench also beat. I'll let you go first because you're a hater.
I'm not a hater. It's just platforms are your genre, and that's just like not what I typically play. So I'm coming like it was a great time, but it's like not near the top of my list for this year. Like I loved it. Like everything they evolved from 2D Mario before was great, and they did it great. I just am not the typical platformer guy, and honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say over Wonder, except I just had a really good time with it in general.
Yeah, man, they fucking nailed it. I'm the platformer guy. I fucking adored this game. I had an absolute blast from time beginning to end. I will say I don't think it's like a game of the year for me personally, but I do think this is definitely what I wanted from 2D Mario after playing through all those new Super Mario games.
Okay, I will say one thing.
That was painful.
After you're done. You want me to go?
Okay, I guess just like my viewpoint is that I think what this game does from a creative standpoint is what was missing from New Super Mario Brothers, where I saw new ideas with every level, new crazy things, new mechanics that they wanted to try out. And apparently there was over 2,000 more ideas that they had to put on the chopping board. I'm like, okay, you got to do DLC then, because that's kind of crazy in and of itself. But I will say, negatives wise, I think the power-ups were kind of lacking. Elephant Mario, I do not like. Mostly because I play as Daisy, and just the image of me in a bad mood. I'll just be completely honest with you guys. I do like the bubble and the drill. I think they're both really cool power-ups, but also I think feel more situational, if anything else, especially the drill. I think the bubble is actually really cool for speedruns. So when I go back to this game, like in the coming years, go back, just try to beat the levels as fast as possible. I think there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with those bubbles. But one more thing I really want to shout out: the animation work in this game is unreal. Like it just, you can put it as a side by side to the new Super Mario Brothers games. It's night and day. It genuinely, like, those games look so stale and lifeless in comparison. Just the little animations, like just going into a warp pipe, they even changed that. So I am very, very satisfied with this game. This is definitely going to be like in my top 10 for the year. I'm very happy.
One more thing before we move on. I do think power-ups was a pretty big disappointment for me, because you only have like 4. And then they kind of supplement it with the badges, but once you find your badge, you're very unlikely to like switch it. So
Yeah, the jumping spin badge. That's the only one you need.
and then I really didn't like the airship levels. I think they killed the pacing right when they popped up. Cause it's like you have like no timer on every single level, and this level you're forced to move on. It kind of kills the
Yeah.
pacing for me.
Well, that's just auto scrollers in general. I've never been a big fan of them. I always give a pass to the airships because they're just few and far between. I'm always a sucker for them. But yeah, I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Mario Wonder. What else did I play? Oh, and I started Luigi's Mansion 3. I'm having a great time with this game. I don't really think this is anywhere near as good as Luigi's Mansion 1. I'm sorry to say. I think I'm biased. I love Luigi's Mansion 1. I think that is one of the most charming games ever made. I think it has some of the best aesthetic. I don't know how to say this. It is one of my favorite aesthetics where it's like it's horror, but not scary horror. It's like, and I guess like just that game, like graphically, I think it still holds up, and just the vibes are immaculate. I'm a sucker for the boss fights in that game, and I think Luigi's Mansion 3 is very solid in all those departments as well. But I just think it's a little too puzzly than I would prefer. There are a lot of puzzles where I'm like, this is stupid. I don't know how I was supposed to figure that out, and it feels less.
3 looks really damn good though, doesn't it?
It's genuinely one of the best looking games on Switch, which is crazy because it came out in 2019 and it looks better than a lot of Switch games. I guess just in general. I will say also 10 million seller. You would never have expected it, but that Mario IP is pretty goddamn big. But yeah, just in general, like I'll have more extended thoughts when I go ahead and beat it. But for now, I'm thoroughly enjoying my time with it. Pop, I want to actually go. Or let me go back to you because you have a lot more games on here.
Yeah, I finished Cyberpunk 2077 and Phantom Liberty. We have more extended thoughts with Jat coming early next week, so look forward to that. But overall, yeah, I won't say much here because check that out. But I really enjoyed and I'm very glad I played both the base game and DLC. And then I started up Paper Mario 64. I don't have much to say because I'm only played like an hour and a half. Yeah, the GOAT. But I am enjoying so far. Old games don't have as much save points and no auto saves, so I am gonna have to use that save states on the NSO. But having a good time so far.
It was funny. You were like talking to us before the show started, like, yeah, man, this is the first game I've really needed to use save states for. It's like Paper Mario, like that's the one that like broke you. So I thought that was funny.
I just haven't like played games with like save states ever. So
I just assumed everyone first like save state game was Pokemon because it's just easier to catch Pokemon that way.
My first save state game was like Pokemon Red and Blue on like an online emulator that ran at like 12 frames per second, and like like 8-year-old me was like, "This shit's fucking insane! How are they doing this?" Bob, I do want to go to you next. What have you?
Yeah, I got a lot here since I'm only on every once in a while, but I mean, ironically, a lot of this is within like the last week because my schedule is finally cleared up. But the one that kind of was a little more in the past was Cocoon. Beat that. I forget if y'all ever talked about that one, but I really enjoyed it. It's a pretty short game. It's just a kind of puzzle game. That kind of messes with perception, and not really perception, but just like how all of the puzzles connect to each other. I thought was really interesting. There was a bug at the end of the game where I like legitimately broke the game. But outside of that, like I thought it was great. I thought it was perfect for Game Pass. I pretty much played it almost exclusively on my handheld. which was perfect for because that was really the only thing I had time for. But yeah, I think that was a really just easy either reset game or just like something you can jump in and out of. Really big fan of that. Let's see what else I got on here. And then I kind of just been messing around because there's a streamer I watch. Shout out Ray Narvaez Jr. He loves playing Pokemon ROM hacks. And so based on the ones he's played, I've played Pokemon Unbound, Pokemon Gaia, Pokemon was it Uranium, I think it's called.
All
And
those are good.
yeah, and Uranium not so much, but Unbound and Gaia are awesome. Unbound specifically, like if you are someone who likes Pokemon but wants like a real like adult story, Unbound is awesome. I love that game to death.
Check out
Yeah, go ahead.
check out Pokemon Insurgents. I can't recommend that enough. That's like the best Pokemon game, even though it's not a Pokemon like official game. It's like what you're saying, adult like it deals with cults and stuff, and it's like a massive game, and it's incredible. I can't recommend that one enough. So if you get some time, check that out. I think I got it running on Steam Deck whenever I had a deck, and I'm sure you can get it running on a different handheld as well. So
Okay.
can't recommend that enough.
Yeah, that's all to say. I'm now playing Pokemon Ephemerald, which is a ROM hack of obviously Emerald. But what's really cool about this game is that it's literally just it's a hack of Emerald, so you're not changing like anything except for the Pokemon. So it's the same story, it's the same characters. That's all the same. But what's different here is that all of the Pokemon have new sprites, have new move sets, and like the biggest thing is that they have new typing. So I don't know exactly who made it or who is all involved, but basically they redesigned every single Pokemon to have a different typing and a different kind of like design and look and evolutions and stuff, and it's really really cool. It's one of those where like it's the same kind of thing as like playing like a randomizer where it's like, okay, I'm not playing this for a story, I'm just playing it like a new gameplay branch for the same story I've played a million times. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. And like the AI is a little bit harder. They add a couple of things to make it a little more interesting, but Pokemon's just one of those games, especially with like the fan made and ROM hacks, where I will go back and play those just when I'm in a lull because it's like those are just so easy to play. And honestly, the fan ones, like
You're in a
Bench was
lull?
saying, are really good. It's not that I was in a lull. It was hard for me to get like because I was so busy. It was hard for me to start or get back into anything. And Pokemon's such
Sure.
an easy one for me. It's like my go-to. So instead of actually replaying the games, I'll go and play like these ROM hacks or whatever. So that's a fun one. I'm currently wrapping up Starfield. So I'm sure the food coma
Oh,
on
man.
that is on the horizon.
That's gonna be a fun one.
That is going to be a fun one. Like the Plug God Bench, I will not say too much about it. And honestly, what's interesting here is I think I really did want to do an entire like New Game Plus and everything else playthrough, but I think just based on everything else that's coming out, I don't have the time for it, especially because I'm already behind as is. So I'm gonna finish up my first playthrough and then probably take a break for a little bit when I have some more time and come back for the New Game Plus. Mentioned probably going to start Alan Wake 2 here this weekend. And then a couple ones I threw in there that I kind of forgot about. I got back into Halo Infinite for Season 5. It is really...
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
It's in a really good spot right now. The gameplay's always been good. I don't think that's ever been an issue for Infinite, but there are so many different good game modes. Infection's back. There's a mode that I think was popular in Master Chief Collection I never got around to, but they made it here called Husky Raid, and that is probably the coolest game mode I've seen in FPS in a while. I don't know if it's new or original or if they stole from someone else, but basically you're literally in these different styled corridors and it's capture the flag. So it's literally your team advancing the line. It's like a war of attrition. You're like advancing the line against the other team to where you can finally get close enough to capture their flag and then run it back to your base. But it's also Fiesta. So you have a bunch of random weapons. So it's kind of like, okay, keep pushing the line. Oh, someone's got a rocket launcher. All right, wipe the team, grab the flag, and run. So that's a really fun game, and I've been enjoying in that. And obviously the new battle pass is pretty good. They've gone better at their customization. Their match XP and progression is a lot better. There's ranks now. So I really do think Halo Infinite is in a great spot. I don't know if it'll ever go back to my like gotta do the dailies and like finish the pass, but I will give them also a shout out. I am still on the season 2 pass, and it still lets me complete my season 2 battle pass, and I can buy the season 3
that's
battle
nice.
pass and do that. Like I love that they're like, yeah, no, you don't have to do this in 3 months. Like take your time, like finish whatever pass you want. That is the main reason I will go back to this game, because they actually respect that I may not give it the time it probably deserves, and they're okay with that. So that's
I
great.
will
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
will say with Halo Infinite, I guess the idea, like, what's his name, Pierre, who saved Master Chief Collection,
Yeah.
and now Infinite. It's clear this guy's gonna lead the next Halo. Like, I think that's agreed upon.
I don't know. I would hope so, but it's like
Because he
it's
seems to be the most competent person there. I'll say that
well,
much.
he seems the most competent on the multiplayer side. I think it's kind of like, not that this is an exact one-to-one, but it's almost like a Blue Point situation where it's like, yeah, you've remade all these games, but how well can we actually
Can you
trust you
make a
making
game?
your own stuff, you know? So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you there, but yeah, I do think. And granted, I don't even know how much of this is him for Infinite and how much it's like, oh, we just really had all this stuff planned and never got around to it. I do think stuff like the XP and the customization and being more player friendly, he probably had a hand in, but like a lot of this stuff I think was always just coming, and unfortunately the game released too early, and it wasn't able to be in that state. But and then finally,
Interesting.
yeah, I've been playing the new Forza Motorsport. It says Forza Horizon. I just realized it's Forza Motorsport. Oops.
So it's been a long show.
I am more of a Horizon guy. The only motorsport I've played is 5. When the Xbox One came out, and I never really liked how simmy it was. But the more I've been into not necessarily sim racers, but just like racing in general, like I finally got my own steering wheel. So I really
Oh my
wanted to like
God,
take an
gamer.
opportunity to like get into it. Yeah, right. I really wanted to like take an opportunity to get into a sim racing game, and I will say it's not all there, but people kept calling it a car PG, and they're not wrong. It's actually really cool how they gamify the sim elements, so it's not very boring and dull for, I think, more casual gamers, especially if you like more casual racing games. So like, and what I mean by that is basically, you still like you buy your car. They make it very easy to tune. So if you know nothing about cars, they'll set you up. And you can even, honestly, what I do in these games is you can look up tunes made by other people that are definitely better than whatever the AI gives you. And like, so you can definitely like set it up to where you have a great running car. And then also using the community, there's plenty of great like paint schemes and stuff. Like I'll always throw on, there's usually like people will do like good racing schemes, and then like there's a random Lightning McQueen that someone will make, and I'm like, all right, perfect, throwing that on the car. That still makes it fun. But anyways, like going into the actual gameplay, like it is more traditional racing where it's like you have practice, and then you have qualifying, and then you have the race. Except the difference here is that when you're in practice, it's like, okay, yeah, this is boring. It's just practice. This doesn't mean anything. But like for example, like turns 3 through 6, there's like these little timing windows, and you do it once, and it's like, okay, you did that in 24 seconds, and then the next time you drive around the track and you hit that moment, it is like tracking your time versus your last time. It's like, okay, you're doing this a little bit faster, and that's good, and you get XP when you do things better, and it kind of just like gamifies you practicing, and then it's like, oh wait, I'm actually good at driving this racetrack now. That's awesome. Like, I wouldn't have probably put this much effort into practice if it wasn't for these gamified systems. So that's all to say that I think that's really good. And the rival system, like if you have any friends playing Forza Motorsport, just like Horizon, like everyone using the same car at the same track and trying to beat each other, like get the fastest times, I will spend hours doing that with my friends. That's a lot of fun. But I will say, this game does not look very good, and I don't think it runs that
Really? That's
good.
the one thing
Yeah,
Forza
like
always had.
yeah, I was shocked. Now, that being said, I only have so I'm playing it on PC, so I can't attest to Series X. But from what I read on the Digital Foundry video, the Series X version is running at like low to medium PC settings. And through some optimizations, I'm able to get like medium PC settings with some ray tracing and DLSS. But like, it's not like, I played Forza Horizon 5 on my PC and it looks so much better than this game. I don't know if this is like why it was partially delayed, but there's a lot of comparison videos out there to like GT7, and it's not a good comparison. So while I respect how good the game, it's weird because usually it's the looker game, not necessarily the best like gameplay game, and I think it's finally opposite this time. And there's also other drama you could look into with like how they released the game, like seasonal content, all that stuff. And I'm not really going to get into that, but it's one of those where it's like, I'm glad it's on Game Pass, because I think it's something, I'll throw the wheel on a couple times a week and kind of drive around, and that's fun. But it's not hooking me like Horizon is, because that is more my style game. So the fact that I'm able to like it, I think is great. But yeah, I'm glad it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, that's always the big selling point is Game Pass. But yeah, I mean, I guess if that's everything you've been playing, Dark, have you been playing anything?
No, nothing of note really. I've just been bouncing around games here and there.
Sounds good. Moon, you got some stuff for me?
No, I was kind of hard focused on Spider-Man, but I did jump on Wonder for a bit, realizing platformers just still aren't my thing.
Yeah, I
and
don't
so
know.
I
Like
kinda,
you were like, I was surprised when you were excited for. I mean, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. This is a platformer.
I blame Nintendo and their hype cycle. I blame the internet and their hype and their being hyped for stuff. I blame you.
What the fuck did you do? Oh wow, the
But yeah,
platformer fan is excited for a platformer. Shocker! Like,
so after Spider-Man came out, I decided, and since I also 100%, I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I'm probably gonna pick up Alan Wake here pretty soon, but I also feel like I have like 9 games started that I haven't finished. So I'm gonna try to just chip away at those. Since it's spooky season now, I went back to Paranormasight that I started earlier this year, realizing it's really awkward having a visual novel game that doesn't have any voice acting, like not even Japanese voice acting. So it's but I'll have
like
more
those
thoughts on it later
sections.
because I'll probably blast through this. It's not a very long game. I think it's only like 8 to 10 hours. So I'll probably beat it by next weekend and give my full thoughts. Because now I have some thoughts about it. Because there was an interesting point in the game that's like, oh, you're one of those games. Okay. So I'll talk about that later. But yeah,
I really did.
Hmm?
Yeah, for a lot of people, like we haven't played Alan Wake yet. I feel bad because I do really want to play it. I've been hearing some good things about it.
It
I'll
came out
definitely
today.
It came out literally
Well,
today.
yeah, but like I had multiple chances to play it today, and I played Luigi's Mansion instead. All right, like that's on me.
The real flashlight game.
Exactly.
Moon,
yeah.
real quick, is Paranormasight
for
the is that the one where like you type your name at the beginning and then it still knows your actual name, like it's doing like tricks like that? Or am I thinking of something
Doki-
else?
Yeah,
Doki-
I don't
that-
think
that's
it's doing
Doki Doki.
exactly that, but it's doing similar things.
Yeah,
in
it's
that
got like
regard.
Doki vibes. Okay. All right.
Yeah, okay, so I'll spoil one small thing about it. So there's,
Whoa,
and it's
whoa,
very
whoa.
early in the game, so it's a late spoiler, but there's this
Okay.
person you run into who has like a malicious spirit that he controls. The way you defeat him, because they give you a hint about it, and I couldn't pick up on the hint. Like literally, the narrator tells you after you die every time. It's like they gave you a hint. How do you fight this? And I'm like, don't fucking know because I am terrible at puzzles. But the hint was when you hear the voice of the spirit is when you die. So what the game expects you to do is to go into the options, turn the voice volume to 0,
That's awesome.
and
That's so
it's like,
cool.
and then you don't hear anything, or at least your character doesn't hear anything, so he doesn't die. But I'm like,
Very
why would I
meta.
even think about going into the voice option when there's no voice acting in the game?
I
Yeah,
think
so it's
that's
like
the
one of those
game really
breaking
wants
the
you to
fourth
think like
wall
that.
games.
Yeah, so I'm expecting a lot more of those puzzles now that I've been hit with this. I got to think outside the box.
Gotcha.
That is actually
Um,
really cool. Damn, I
So,
love when games do that.
but yeah, that's all. That's all I've been doing. Spider-Man consumed my life.
Spider-Man consumed all our lives, except Bob here.
Yep, I just didn't have time for it.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have time for it soon. At least you better.
Hopefully. I think I plan on trying to get to it before the end of the year. Fingers crossed.
Let's hope. But yeah, I think that's everything in regards to the podcast. Moon, how about you sign us off for the day?
Yeah, it's getting late, and we want to go play games and do other stuff. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll be turning in next week as we hit November. We're winding down to the end of the year, and all the exciting game of the year discussions going to start picking up once again. So, I hope you guys join us for that because that's going to be a lot of rousing discussion, I'm sure. And as others have said, we also have a lot of food combos coming up, such as Starfield, Cyberpunk, and a couple other games. So be sure to look out for those. But until then, hope you all had a good one, and say good night, everyone.
Good night.
Seconds.
Oi.